Please, mate, look,
leave me alone. Just let us know.
London, 4 a.m. The police have been called to a stabbing, but the victim won't let them touch him.
I've got one in the neck. I've got one under the lower rib cage on my right-hand side. Do not touch me.
Called on it. Suspect the male has been injured.
Take off the cuffs and I'll do you as well.
The Metropolitan Police Service receives over 6,000 emergency calls a day. But in recent years, they've faced a barrage of criticism. Now it seems to be a job few people want.
I don't want your help.
Well, an ambulance is going to come
I
here and
want
it's
to
going to
see
treat
you nailed against the wall.
So who is joining? And how is the Met going to produce a new breed of officer to police the capital?
Nobody can get away from the amount of criticism we've had over the last 2 or 3 years. The inquiry into the death of Stephen Lawrence, allegations of corruption, allegations of sexism, racism, incompetence. We need to address them.
Commander Richard Cullen is in charge of the Metropolitan Police Training School in Hendon, North London. It's up to him to try to change the way the Met trains its police officers.
People up. That's right, you could just pull into there for us.
Today, a new intake of recruits is arriving to begin the 4-month training course.
In the last couple of weeks, I've had a few doubts whether I'm actually going to be able to do it, whether I'm actually going to be able to pass. I've just sort of doubts in my own ability, really. But now I'm actually here, I just feel a hell of a lot more confident, and I'm raring to go now. Wow. It's a lot bigger than I expect.
If 24-year-old Claire Keating makes it through the course, in just 18 weeks' time, she'll be policing the streets of London.
Take care. All right. Don't worry about it, all right?
I'll be fine. OK.
You're all right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for bringing me.
Day one is when the discipline starts. And I'm a disciplinarian, basically, but also a cuddly teddy bear.
Sergeant Dave Burgum will be one of Claire's instructors.
Welcome, Sam. You're in the A class. OK.
Good evening. Welcome to Hendon. Sergeant Bergen.
Hello.
How are you? You are?
Sam Wickington.
Can you lose the earrings when you come down? We are a professional service and first impressions do count.
You go in there and then book the table.
To maintain their current numbers, the Met needs 180 new recruits every 5 weeks.
Your name is a good start.
I'm Claire Keating.
Claire.
Today, only 93 are joining.
It's fine, no traffic.
Looking forward to it?
Yeah, really nervous though.
Oh, yeah?
No, you don't need to be nervous. There's nothing for you to worry about.
The Met draws its recruits from all over the country. Until last week, 23-year-old Craig Jones was working at a leisure centre in Manchester.
I'm proud to have got this far. It's a big achievement. My parents are really proud. And now I am here. It's all sinking in, and you can forget home in a way, because this is going to be my new home now for the next 6 months, so it's time to get on with things.
When they turn up, not smart, straight away that puts my back up. We've had one that has come in. I've taken, probably wrongly, a dislike. Because he came in, he was chewing gum, he was unshaven, he was wearing a jean jacket, he had trainers on that were undone. Not the sort of thing that you would expect of a person starting a new job for the Metropolitan Police.
When I've got here, I've already had my first telling off. It's like not being suited up and chewing gum. So it's like I explained, that I've just travelled halfway across the country. But you get over these things, don't you? Move on. It's me, I want to stay me. A lot of people have said to me before I came, you're going to change. Next thing you'll have a crew cut and clean shaven. And I said, if you've got to do, you've got to do, but at the end of the day, I want to be plain old me. The way everyone loves me. Hope.
Commander Richard Cullen has been in charge at Hendon for 2 years.
I was sent here by the Commissioner to sort out training in the Metropolitan Police. For some time it had been seen as failing the organisation. We actually need super cops. Metropolitan Police demands the best. One incompetent, one inept police officer does more damage on the streets of London than anything else. There is no room here for anybody who's a racist, who's sexist, who's homophobic, or who's a bully. If any of those apply to you, best thing for you to do now is go over to your rooms, pack your bags, and walk out through the main gates. To actually say, I don't accept the stereotyping of Metropolitan Police officers, and to join the police service at this moment of time takes a massive amount of faith.
To be a police officer, you've got to really want to be a police officer, and you've got to almost have it in your blood, if you like. I know I can't change people's image on my own, but if I can change just one person's image of the police, then I'll be really happy.
Johnny Bravo loves it. Thanks very much, guys. He's a natural.
Chemistry graduate Mike Walsh is from Lancashire.
But never mind.
I think my generation, we don't have the bigotry that generations before had. I don't think we do. I think it's getting less and less.
That's what she just asked me. Yeah, and I'm just saying.
It's very unfortunate that you do get one or two situations that are blown out of proportion by the press. But I believe it's up to somebody like myself to go out there and say, well, actually, you know, not everyone's like that. I'm actually not a bad lad, you know. I don't have beliefs like that. I'm here to work for you, so, you know, take me as I am.
The Home Office say that within 10 years the Met must be recruiting 30% of its officers from ethnic minorities. In this intake, they've only managed to recruit 7%. Joining has been a big step for Harinder Bobra.
Anybody coming from an Asian background will know every mother and father wants their son either to be a doctor, a lawyer, a solicitor. The last thing they want their son or daughter to be is a police officer. The reason only being because of the vast dangers that are exposed to this job and the racial abuse that they would come across. But I always wanted to join the police. It's an excellent job and it's one of the best jobs I think personally to be in. You've got to be strong, you know, and if you can take that sort of, you know, if someone came up to me and said, you know, blah blah blah, whatever about my colour, to me personally, it just won't bother me.
It's an early start for the new recruits. Breakfast is at 6:45, but not all of them have made it to the canteen.
It's been a rough night. Woke up about 2:30, then again at 3:30. Started looking at my statement of common purpose and values. That's what they say you have to know. So, a shower. What time is it now? No, I'll be too late if I have a shower.
Two of Craig's instructors are PCs George Marshall and Steve Saville.
All right, okay.
Yeah, right, sit yourselves down. Craig, can you sit outside, please? Why am I speaking to you? Any ideas? What did I say? All lined up outside the wall yesterday, outside the staff room. What did I say about shaving?
That you have to be clean shaven.
Clean shaven, what is that?
I was under the impression if you were growing something, you were...
No, what I said was, you can't have stubble, you either clean shave or full beard. Okay?
Right.
They need to fit into the organisation and to do the things that we want them to. They need to think differently about things, because you can't stand and look and walk away. You have to be the people, if a bomb's gone off, that's running towards the bomb while everybody else is running away. So they're going to change massively.
You will get this amount of work over the next 18 weeks. You will collect them on a weekly basis, and that is what you've got to learn over the next 18 weeks. You're looking forward to that, aren't you?
Yeah. Even when I've seen it 6 times now, I still find it hard to believe that they actually get through all that. Still, we have to know it. Nightmare.
Thank you.
Okay, what we're going to do now is introductions. We don't know each other, you know us X amount, we're now going to introduce ourselves. You're all going to squirm, perhaps. You're now centre of attention, and as a police officer, you will be the centre of attention.
Morning all, my name's Craig Jones, as Welsh as it sounds, Manchester born and bred. Went to school, I went to college, done really well.
When I was 16, I was arrested by the police for underage driving. I was so frightened of police at the time. I thought they were all evil people. You had to be a certain sort of person to join the police, get out and conquer the world, that sort of attitude. When they arrested me, they took me to the police station. They always made the experience quite enjoyable for me, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but that experience really made my mind up for me to join the police.
Too many questions so far. Come on.
How did you cope with things like sort of death and abuse and RTAs and things like that? I mean, I'm just thinking about myself, in 4 months I might be out on the street seeing stuff like that. I mean, how did you cope with it when you first started?
You become very hard to it very quickly. After a few years, you will not be the same people that you are. For instance, Saturday and Friday nights at the moment mean to you weekends off, go out with your mates, have a few beers, and let's enjoy ourselves. Friday and Saturday nights to me now mean alcohol, prisoners in the cell, blood and fighting, and vomit. That's what it means to me, because I've been doing this for so long. This is perhaps what...
I think I've been quite lucky in my upbringing. I've had a good education, I went to a good school, I went around the world for a couple of years, and I think I've learnt a fair bit in that time that I was travelling about myself and about people. And it's a very good way, it's a good career in that I'll be able to give something back of the things that I've learnt and the things that I've experienced.
Yeah, some very strong personalities in there.
Yeah.
It's starting to shine through already.
I was particularly impressed with Michael, the guy with the tan who's been to Egypt. So he was quite confident, which is good, but we shall see. Hopefully he will be very confident and will be able to do it, but it's unusual to have someone so confident.
I've got reservations about Michael, I must admit. He's overconfident.
It's all fresh in our mind now, isn't it?
I've seen lots of people fail the course. University graduates are no exception.
Stereotyping is an important issue for the Met, and one of the recruits' first lessons is on this topic. The class has been given 6 different cars to examine, and they have to try and work out the type of person who owns each car.
It's going to be a youngish lad, isn't it?
So that one, they've been abroad?
Yeah, travel.
Family person. You got a box of wine. He's in the wine club Sunday time, so it's not reading the Sun or Mirror.
Is it?
Right, we'll go for the male.
Yeah, but I tried this.
But it's the thing, he's got a box of wine, he's got a box of car goodies. Stereotypically, a woman wouldn't carry that, would she?
I don't know. Because you don't see many guys carrying umbrellas either, do you?
Well, he's been to the races, hasn't he, you can tell.
You've been a bit egotistic.
We're looking at the goods, aren't we? You've got a good tasting paper and wine.
What age do you reckon?
Yeah, it's an older person.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 30 plus.
Mother and son tag team unit.
The class draw some interesting conclusions about a silver Metro.
And all cars are sporting activity.
Tell me about it.
We thought it was a female that drove the car in because the seat was so far up, sort of closer to the steering wheel.
Someone young.
Somebody young?
Someone below 25.
Under 25? Clean?
Yeah. And a nodding dog we saw in the on the back parcel shelf.
Dog. Interesting to know, actually. That young couple, under 25, catering, female, youngish, like that, it's mine.
And it's mine. In the back.
Yes, it is. When I left my old division at Chingford, where I used to work, they bought me a leaving present, and one of it was a nodding dog. When we're in class early days, we are looking constantly around the class. I think we can tell quite quickly whether or not someone has come to Hendon and has put a mask up, for instance, racism, whether they're homophobic, things like that. If you just did lessons on, say, drink driving or criminal damage, some of the basic stuff we do, you could hide behind a mask. With these other lessons we do, it's very, very difficult to hide behind that mask all the time.
I wanted to come and be the same person. Obviously, you're going to have to change in certain ways.
but I didn't think I'd have to change like physically in appearance. I thought I always looked quite smart. But rules are rules, so off it's had to go.
Today is a big day. The recruits are going to try on their police uniforms for the first time.
This is what it's all about.
This one for you. Change room number 1, please, quick as you can.
Right. That's when you look like Mr. Plod like that.
I just can't believe I got it finally. It seems to have taken forever. But I actually feel like a police officer now. It's all quite masculine though, the uniform, I think. It's a bit of a shame, but never mind.
Go on, I'll put this lad on. It sort of bestows a sense of responsibility on you straight away. Just looking at yourself, you know, you're looking at a police officer. I don't know. It's sort of, you put the gear on. I'm no longer just Mike Walsh. It's like, you know, a Mike Walsh, a police officer. It's a bit different, really. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get used to it.
Right. I'm going to tell you all about the Met Vest in one go, and then I'm going to fit you individually. As soon as you're fitted, get straight into your own clothes. This is the Met Vest. It's anti-stab and it's ballistic, OK? Up to exactly what it says here, OK? If it is loose on you and you get shot or stabbed, it won't work as efficiently. It has to lie next to you. They ignore the fact that you've got boobs. It has to lie next to you. Your stomach is here. If you get shot here, this is the slowest, most painful way to die. All right, you will die because there's not this little piece of metal in you because your entry hole's that big, yeah? The exit hole's this big, and that's what you want to stop. This is why you wear it close to you. It's not, you know, this is for real girls. When there are people out there that want to get you, this is for your own benefit. You must wear this piece of kit.
Is this something we wear every day on just general duty, or would this be if we're going somewhere to a riot or to
I advise you to get used to wearing it all of the time. Some police stations, because they've had about 8 murders, you're not allowed to leave the nick unless you've got it on. OK, how you feeling?
Really,
all right, yeah.
Scary. Yeah, it brings it all to life, I think, brings it all to reality.
But it takes a lot more than a new uniform to impress Sergeant Burgum.
This afternoon, I came into this room and it was in a state of disarray. There was books, pens and everything thrown out all over the place. Now, you've been spoken to by staff about classroom tidiness. Maybe a small point to you, but it isn't to me. I enforce standards and I ensure that those standards are met. So when I walk round, have you shaved today?
No, sir.
Why?
There was no warm water this morning.
Rubbish. I cycled in and I showered in cold water. Tomorrow morning you'll be outside my door right after parade and I will inspect you, OK?
Sergeant.
If I have occasion to come in here and speak about... Where have you been?
Sorry, we didn't realise we had to be back at 1:45.
Right, you're on early turn tomorrow morning, both of you. Right. Can you ensure that that surname's taken? Thanks. You haven't got your mums and dads to wipe your noses now. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet and ensure that you get the jobs done. Do I make myself clear? Right. OK, carry on. Have a word, Sergeant.
Unless you be told, so that's what we've been doing. So they'll
Can I have a shoulder dress on my ear, please? It's going to start bleeding in a minute. Come on, look at you. I mean, how could you possibly, after all you've been through, not shave this morning? What were you thinking of?
It was too cold.
Do you think you're going to sit there all day like that? Why don't you come and get my kettle like Craig did? He's not as green as he looks, cabbage.
Being on early turn means the recruits will have to get up an hour earlier. But that's the least of their problems. Every Friday they'll have to sit a written exam. Tomorrow is their first.
Hi. How are you? I got into trouble today. I've got to do an early turn. I've got to be inspected at 7 o'clock in the morning. The last thing I want is to fail my first exam. So I'm determined not to. But it seems to be going okay. I mean, I've done about 70 pages in the last half an hour.
They're going to be tested on an information pack that was sent out to them with their joining papers. Harinder's finding it hard going.
Sunday, I didn't get any sleep. Monday night, I didn't get any sleep. Tuesday night, I maybe got an hour. And then last night, I got a couple of hours. The last time I sat exam were a good 4.5, 5 years ago. Normally, I'm good at sort of like putting information together, but it's just a matter of making it stick up there.
The following morning, before the exam, the 3 recruits on early turn report for inspection by drill instructor Peter Clements.
Shan! I think what you're doing. So you wash?
Yes, staff.
What are you here for?
Not shaving staff. I think discipline is very important, and all the rules, however insignificant they might seem, which, yeah, okay, I probably think some of them are quite pointless, but that doesn't matter. They could tell us to have green hair every day of the week. It wouldn't matter what they were telling us to do. It's the fact that they're telling us to do something, and you've got to be able to follow orders.
Mike's commitment is soon put to the test. Once the exam's finished, the class have their first lesson in drill.
Right! Turn! On the left! Quick! Barge! Right!
It's Peter Clements' job to make sure they're up to scratch for their passing out parade.
When the students pass out from here on Friday week 18, they'll probably never ever march again in their entire life, but they can go away with some great satisfaction of what they have achieved.
And halt! Check! 1, 2! Wait for the word command, okay? No impersonations of Skippy. Okay?
I was trying, and then he said that I wasn't up to scratch, so it would have been useful if he could at least have said what I was doing wrong, because I haven't got a bloody clue now. It's my hair, probably, yeah. Maybe it's a shirt. Anything else?
Well, I don't think I'll be marching around the streets of London, but if I can get the course work done and the content past my keys, to me that's the main thing of walking out here.
Later the same day, the exam results are back.
PC Bobra, 80% pass. PC Davies, 95%.
The pass mark is 70%.
80% pass. PC Keating, 75% pass. PC Walsh, 100%. Well done.
A lot of people would say, oh, that's brilliant, he's got 100%. Yeah, I wouldn't take that away from him. He's got 100%, but you're talking about they've had possibly 2 or 3 months to study this material. Now they're going to get to be in a situation where they'll only have a week to study the material.
You're right, mate, you're on, mate.
It's not always the people that get 100% that are going to turn out the best recruits.
Sure. Thanks very much, guys.
Recruits have to learn to conform to the Met standards. But as one of a new breed, these recruits must also be prepared to challenge the behaviour of fellow officers.
I'm going to set up an exercise where I'm going to send one of the class down to do some photocopying. Volunteer, excellent. Could you go down and take 5 copies of that? And while that person is away at the photocopy, I will brief the class. When she comes back, I'm going to give you a scenario, and I'm going to pick on Jackie to give her views to me. Can all of you do it naturally, go against what she says? And at the end of the little discussion we're going to have, I'll then ask her what she thinks. Now, I've run this lesson before, and only one person has ever stuck to their guns. Thank you. Oh, that's all right. Right, Jackie, there was a complaint that went in by someone who works with the cars. They call them garage hands. And they walked past the gents' locker room, which was on the same floor, came in and made a complaint that he could see topless women on the inside of this male PC's locker. Jackie, if the complaint was made, what do you think should be done about it?
Probably ask not to put it on anymore, or to remove the pictures that are already on there.
So that would offend you if you saw it?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? OK. Mike?
Nobody's forcing you to look at it as his own property, so if you don't like it, then look the other way. It's not a problem. And after the making the complaint, I think it's ridiculous, to be honest. If a guy wants to have a few dirty pictures, then let him have some pictures, you know.
Sounds a bit petty to try and get someone to take it off. They obviously put it there because they wanted it there.
Do you think that's all right?
Yeah.
I think you kind of expect it of guys' lockers, so I can't see what the problem is.
It's a male look at them, so why the hell are they looking in there in the first place? OK, so we think it's petty. Yeah. This person actually moan about it, yeah? Jackie, what do you reckon?
I think that if it causes offence to even just... Actually, personally, I don't think it really offends me. That's probably wrong what I said to start it.
Would you still stick to your guns, or would you change it slightly, or...?
Yeah, probably I'd say it's OK, yeah.
It's OK. Thank you. Excellent. Right. What actually happened there, Jackie, is I told everybody to disagree with you. Did you start to feel that?
Yeah.
But if it was something more serious, how would you feel? What happens the day you're out with your colleague and you stop a police officer off duty who's been drink driving, and the colleague you're with, he or she, decides that, no, we want to let this person go. Really good officer, been in 25 years. You're now at the side of the road arguing with your colleague. So what are you going to do?
It's not going to be easy at all, because it's going to be a police officer. Peer pressure again. They're saying, no, we're not going to do it. It's going to be immensely difficult, but you've got to.
In my opinion, that police officer isn't a good police officer if they're drinking and driving. Doesn't matter what else you've done. You've done 1,000.
The job, the service itself, will back them up 100% if they have a complaint. The difficulty will be alienating themselves and making them not very popular. Must adhere to. And the long and the short of it is, if you do not challenge inappropriate behaviour when you encounter it, your job could ultimately be on the line.
They do feel different, don't you? It's the end of their second week, and this morning, for the first time, the class are allowed to parade in uniform.
Oh yeah, feel good today, 100%. Let's give it some.
Each of these recruits, when they go on the streets of London, is going to have a massive individual responsibility. We're not training people to work in a supermarket. We're training people who are going to have to make life decisions. They're going to have far more power than the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff for the Army, the Air Force and the Navy in peacetime. They have a responsibility which no other person in society has. And that is a heavy weight on any young person's shoulder.
They say the first 2 weeks are the easiest, and when it gets onto the third week, the work gets harder. I think they're breaking us in gently at the moment. So I'm so pleased that I'm here now. I'm so pleased that I finally did it.
Turn the engine off, take the keys.
What do you want?
Can you take the keys out of the ignition?
No, I can't.
At the Metropolitan Police Training School in Hendon, North London, a new intake of recruits are 2 weeks into their 18-week course. Today they're getting a taste of some of the problems they'll face on the street.
The vehicle has 2 male occupants. They've been acting suspiciously in a local car park. So it's your job to stop the vehicle and speak to the driver and his passenger.
We have age.
No.
Chemistry graduate Mike Walsh is teamed up with one of the youngest members of his class, 19-year-old David Morrie.
OK, let's walk up to the top road here.
That's all. Excuse me, gentlemen. I had information, had a report that you've been acting suspiciously in this car.
This is bollocks.
Would you mind stepping out of the car?
Why?
So I'd like to speak to you.
What do you mean you want? About what? Nothing to do with the fact that I was nicked last week, I suppose. Is it? What's something funny?
Nice, sir.
Why are you laughing then?
Are you a clown?
No, sir. Would you mind stepping out of the car, please?
Fed up with it.
Both the passenger and driver of the car are police instructors. With a recruit's performance recorded for later feedback, Sergeant Burgum is about to give David and Mike a lesson they're unlikely to forget.
I ain't got to give you your details. Have I? What have I done? Why do you want my details?
Can I take your name, please?
No.
You're refusing to give me your details, sir.
Yeah, I am. What's your name then?
PC Maury.
Good. You're both a couple of clowns, you two.
Can you just tell me whose car it is? Is that your car?
Put your finger over at me. Do you what? Don't you bloody stick your finger up at me. No, don't do it.
Sorry about this.
Bollocks, bollocks.
That's all right.
I'm going.
Is this your car?
No, I'm talking to you. Oi, Noddy, I'm talking to you.
Right, is this your car, sir?
Hey?
Is this your car?
Is it
The
my
recruit should be making sure they can see what both suspects are doing all the time.
Find out when,
Can I just have your name, please, sir?
Hey?
Can I have your name, please?
My name?
Yes,
You want
please.
my name? You go... No, no, I'm not going to give you my name. Why have I got to give you my name?
Because I just need to verify it's your car, sir.
Oh, have you? Have you?
Can I just take your name? Could you give me his name, please, sir?
You can't. I'm going. I've had enough. I've had enough.
Okay, can you just come back
Because
into
you
favour,
there are a
please?
couple of clowns. You're both dead.
Right, let's just end the road there. Step on the footpath, please. Look here.
Guys,
Find that.
there's nothing personal, I can assure you. But you are going to get an aggressive, not that was over the top. But you are going to get that, and you're going to have to handle that. I do apologise, but it's a valid lesson learnt here, isn't there?
Yeah.
You won't let that happen again. You've got to be in command. And George said that, but don't take it personally. You're probably seething underneath now. Just learn from it.
Crikey. Didn't have a clue what we were doing. Didn't know what law we could use, we didn't know what our rights were, we didn't know what our powers of arrest were. Weren't watching, I got stabbed, he got slashed and I got stabbed. Credit cards thrown on the floor, none of us saw.
Didn't know what force.
Didn't know whether they could take his keys or not, didn't know how to, just didn't have a bloody clue what to do.
And I've taken a real dislike to you too.
One by one, each member of the class pays the price for dropping their guard.
See that?
Nothing suspicious. No one's suspicious.
Sorry, you're dead.
As my colleague has explained to you.
Harinder Babra has 3 years' experience as a part-time volunteer police officer in Yorkshire.
I'm sorry, no.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, mate.
Touch me again, I'll have you up for assault.
He already knows some of the basics.
You what?
Yeah, well, I can see it, sir. It's just a routine check.
But even Harinder doesn't survive.
Arrestable offence. You bet.
Tom, 7 bloody times! Sorry.
In all of those, some of you did better than others, but in all of those you were concentrating on the aggressive person. You cannot afford to drop your guard, because if you do, you may be seriously injured or dead. That makes your partners widows or widowers.
For Jackie Breeze and Claire Keating, the lesson has had quite an impact.
I was sitting here and I took a few minutes out just to actually look out the window and just look at all those houses outside and thinking, you know, God, what am I going into? What am I going into?
I think before you come here, people say, you know, you'll have to come up against this, and you think, I can handle it, no problem. But when you get here, it's a lot more scary.
Yeah.
Into defensive stance, go! Scary. Okay, the arms are going to be slightly bent. Okay.
While they're at Hendon, the recruits are given lessons on how to protect themselves.
Take hold of them. So those of you that were just standing there saying you're under arrest, yeah, when you're depriving someone of their liberty, we do actually physically take hold. Yeah, you're under arrest, and you're not obliged to say anything. Blah 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 blah. That is the ordinary police hold. And remember, it is pain and rewards, okay? Pain compliance means that we reward good behaviour, okay? So don't let his fingers go to
Like the majority of instructors at Hendon, Tracy Axton is a serving police officer.
What must the force be?
Reasonable and necessary.
Reasonable and necessary. Happy with that? Back in your lines, please!
Some people come here and they've never had any physical contact with someone at all, and they've never dealt with any sort of confrontation before either.
So it is important that they deal with that for the first time here.
Left arm out, do not resist. Stand still.
It's not as severe as how it used to be when they used to have to put on a pair of boxing gloves and hit someone and get hit for the first time in their life here. It's not as bad as that, but certainly for a lot of people it is a huge change for them.
Can I try on you, Ashley?
What's that doing up there then?
Right, go then, resist me.
Before I came here, I was really worried about the officer's safety. It sounds really stupid, but I was actually worried about getting hurt, which is really sad because we're going out on the streets, but it's actually the best lesson I've had since I've been here, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm surprised how easy it is if you get the right bits.
Up until 6 weeks ago, Craig Jones was working at a leisure centre in Manchester.
People who look at police officers, all I thought was, yeah, you'll do a bit of self-defence and you'll take them down the neck and buckle them in, whatever you do.
I am not coming in and striking.
But a lot of the info they were giving you was really good, because sometimes you just think you'd know what to do if someone attacked you. But the way they put it into perspective and they make you think, there is actual rules to keeping yourself safe.
Why are you kicking them? Stop. Stop them, yeah? To stop forward momentum. You stop them coming any closer to you, you don't have to run to them to kick them. Is that defensive? It's not just a case of showing them how to use force on someone. It's a case of making them think for themselves as to, you know, when they can use it and why they would use it. It's still very difficult for them, I think, until they experience it for themselves, when they actually have to make that decision to strike someone with a baton, for example. But hopefully it's something that we put across to them, that, you know, they are very accountable for whatever they do and that they must justify whatever they do.
The recruits have a lot to learn, and the pace is relentless. By Friday, most are keen to get away for the weekend.
It's going to be the first time in 2 weeks now that I'm going to get to go home. So, really looking forward to that. Can't wait, basically.
Alright, ciao people, have a good weekend.
Get up at 6, breakfast 6:45, you're in the class for 8, you finish around 4 o'clock, you have your tea, and then it's back to the books. And all you've got really is your room. You've got a television room, but it's not the place to be on your own, is it, when you're feeling a bit down? So, yeah, can't wait, get home, nice bit of cooking, back to my bedroom.
Drink orange water.
Have a drink of orange?
No, thank you.
You're all right. It's great to be back in Manchester, to hear all the Manc lads. It's brilliant, no more southern accents. See the family, see my mates. No more stress. No more stress for 48 hours. No more shaving for 48 hours.
But to keep up with the work, the recruits have to study at the weekend. Craig's stepmother does what she can to help.
I think it's probably the best thing he's ever done. I think it'll give him a good sense of direction, a sense of purpose. This weekend he seems a little more settled, a little more confident in himself. I think it was probably just a little bit of homesickness to start with. But I'm sure he will be fine.
At Hendon, Mike Walsh is spending the weekend on his own.
You're away all day, are you? Oh, right. I'd sort of planned watching the rugby with you, but if you're away all day, I'll just have to... I've sort of been having a couple of thoughts about whether or not I'm going to be as suited to the job as I thought I was. I think I question too much, and I don't think I can form as readily as perhaps they would like.
If it's 51, you look, you'll see there's nothing on there.
It must be equipped with an interior rear view mirror and at least one exterior rear view mirror. I'm just worried. I just have my suspicions that my instructors look at me and think he could be a spanner in the works. And if that is the impression that I give at this early stage, then how is it going to affect my career 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line?
It's the start of a new week, and Craig, back from Manchester, is in for a surprise. Sergeant O'Leary has got some news for the class.
OK, Craig has been selected as your class captain by the staff. And Alison has been selected as your deputy class captain. They have been chosen because I think, and the rest of the members of staff think, that they will be a representative of the whole class.
Class captain, big shock. How can you say no, really? I haven't had this much good luck in ages, so I suppose the times are changing. I might actually finish Hendon.
Although they are leaders of the group in terms of team leaders, and every single member of the team has an important role to play, they do have some authority, and if they tell you to do something, regardless of whether you agree with it at that particular moment, they make the decision and you do what they tell you to do. If afterwards...
To me, it was the fact that because I didn't get it, it made me think, what is it that I've not got, which has made them decide that they're not going to give me that position.
But you all have an individual responsibility.
So I just thought, sod it, I'll go and see Sergeant O'Leary. I didn't want to, I didn't really want to talk about my problems, but I just thought, if I don't, I'm going to end up, I'm going to end up leaving.
Mike comes from an environment where he's very used to speaking, very used to putting his opinions forward.
I have too much to do, honestly. I'm not prepared to give up my evenings for drill.
20 minutes?
No, I'm not, because I've got important stuff to do, and drill isn't important as far as I'm concerned.
I think Mike was trying to do the right thing in bringing forward his opinions, but there was something about him in the way that he delivered them, which came across as quite challenging, quite arrogant. And I feel a responsibility to help him to change that.
She did give me a bit of a pep talk and said it's not a major problem, but it is something that it would help you if you could come across in certain situations in a slightly different way. It would benefit you and it perhaps would make other people feel more at ease. That for me is invaluable, so it would be surely in my own interest to listen to what she said.
Meanwhile, Jackie and Claire face a different hurdle. Tomorrow they'll have to take the police fitness test.
Actually, we're really worried about it. We're just so terrified that we don't want to build our hopes up. We don't want to fail and then burst into tears in front of the whole class.
We're going to cry anyway, aren't we?
I think we're going to cry if we do pass, aren't we? Just sheer relief.
There's no distinguishing endurance levels between men and females. We have to do it as quick as the blokes. But they seem to find it really easy. They all think, they're not even worried.
No.
A class, the warm-up then for the bleep test, the endurance test. As you know, it's from the blue line.
The fitness test is run by Paul Buckle.
2 blue cones, and then we'll go live with the bleep test itself. 3, 2, 1.
Every recruit has to pass this test. If they fail, it could mean the end of their career.
The fitness test has been designed to replicate the occupational side of policing. The endurance test measures an officer's stamina, aerobic capacity, and that's important because they could be involved in foot chases, they might have to climb stairs, or just walk in the beat.
The recruits have to cross the hall 57 times, racing against an ever faster bleep. As they near the end, things are not going well for Jackie Breeze.
Number 3! And steady! And slow down and walk back to the blue line. Where's number 3? Number 3 was fine. Number 3 was okay. Number 3! Yes, she passed, yeah. Number 3! You did. The tape, you did.
Jackie had just reached the minimum requirement before she'd stopped. But there are still 2 more tests to go.
Okay. Stand by. Go! Straight sprint to the right and around the blue. And the speed and agility test is to prove that an officer can actually get to an incident quickly in a short space of time, and also to be able to negotiate obstacles. For example, pedestrian, parked car, telephone box, or quick change of direction. Okay, unfortunately, that was too slow. You scored 27.84.
This time, Jackie has failed. To pass, the recruits must be able to finish in under 27.39 seconds.
Finish. 27.34. You did it.
There's just one more part of the test to get through.
Good.
Claire has to perform 20 press-ups, twice as many as some of the men. The test is designed to show that each recruit, regardless of their size, has the strength to push away an average person weighing 75 kilos.
No, I'm going to have to stop you there. I'm going to have to stop you there, number one. I have to stop you there. Unfortunately, you were 4 short, 16.
By the end of the fitness test, 4 of the 5 women in the class have failed.
We've now got a police warning. If we get 2 of those, our services can be dispensed of. We can get sacked, basically, which is ridiculous. Because Jackie failed by less than half a second. I failed by a couple of press-ups, but because of that, we could now be thrown out of the service.
Commander Richard Cullen, who's in charge of training for the Metropolitan Police, is convinced the fitness test is both fair and necessary.
What do you think of this morning? What police officers have to accept, that's male and female, is that violence doesn't discriminate. So a woman officer is as likely to be assaulted as her male colleague. And they actually need to be able to cope with that. They need to be able to understand why they need to be physically fit and physically strong. And that's what the physical tests are designed for.
Claire and Jackie will have to retake the test in 6 weeks.
Again, when you're new to this game, you'll get the whole system right, how to point out the offence, how you stopped the vehicle, spoke to the driver.
Within a couple of days, Harinder Bubra has got a far bigger problem with his fitness.
Come in, boys. Oh, sorry, Sergeant.
I'll start last. What have you done?
Playing football in the gym yesterday. Got about an hour into the game, and as I went to sort of run for the ball, Sam ran in front of me, and as I tried to go past him, I tripped over his back legs.
You haven't seen our doctor, I'll take it.
Yeah, I've been to see the nurse this morning.
Right.
I want to be back in class tomorrow, no matter what. I mean, I've already sort of like lost a day today.
Well, I'll be down to the doctor. Hopefully it won't be too long. The only problem that we do face if it goes beyond the week. Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow when you go to the doctors, yeah?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Cheers, bye.
Oh, God.
If Harinder misses too much of the course, he'll have to start again.
What are you going to be doing then, Craig?
Covering you.
Out on the training roads, the rest of the class are putting newly learned traffic theory into practice. Claire has been told to question a man sleeping in his car.
Yes, officer.
Sorry to bother you. Can we just have a chat?
Yeah,
Can you
sure.
just come on the paper?
Does this mean I'm going to go to court?
No, not at all. It just means you've got...
The staff are concerned about the way Claire is dealing with the practical work at Hendon.
Sorry, I need to take a minute.
Okay.
I can't remember what to say.
People would eat her alive on the street if she giggled and was smiling and very, very soft and gentle with people. There comes a point where, say for instance, stop and search, where you've got to assert some sort of power. You've got to be able to do it and be seen to be doing it as well. And if she can't do that, then she will not make it as a police officer. From our point of view, you've got to start coming round.
Steve Saville has decided it's a problem that needs to be addressed.
Go over the point that if you were called to a pub fight or something like that, how would you respond? You don't have the luxury of saying, I don't want to do this because of whatever reason. Okay.
I think it's just because it's in front of people I know. I now know.
I could foresee a problem with that on the street, because all your colleagues you're going to work with, would you be afraid to do anything because you know them? Would you, if you were out on the street?
I don't know.
You don't know. So this is going to be a problem for us, is it? Or are we going to work on this?
Yeah, we're going to work on it. Yeah.
Once I know you...
I absolutely hate role plays. At the end of last week, I actually wanted to resign because of the role plays. I find them really hard. Not the actual thing. I've got the knowledge. Well, I believe I've got the knowledge. I just can't. I find it really difficult because I find it like play acting.
As Claire and the rest of the class are about to find out, there are good reasons why they must be well prepared.
All of these weapons have at some point been confiscated from people on the street, and they've now been brought up here to use, just to highlight them and show them the sort of weapons that they will come across without a shadow of a doubt. I should imagine within their first week on the streets they will come across weapons such as this. Why would anyone want to carry that around the streets of London with them? I'm going to pass them around.
To be able to arrest someone carrying one of these, recruits must be clear about the definitions of offensive weapons.
Causing physical injury, that's not made for causing physical injury. That's made for cutting grass and bamboo and stuff.
So that's intended for causing physical injury?
Yeah. So it's an offensive weapon, but you've got to decide if it's made, adapted or intended.
There's an awful lot of stuff out there that's now coming out onto the market where, unless you actually examine these things, you'll never know that they are in fact offensive weapons and knives. What some manufacturers have done, oh very nice, thank you very much, is they've produced 2 pens. It looks like 2 pens side by side, and it is in fact a butterfly knife. Yes.
I've never seen anything like any of those weapons, really. It's frightening that people go about with these kind of things. You just can't understand the mentality behind them, really.
At the end of the day, we could actually feel the brunt of them. And some of the weapons that I've handled today, wouldn't fancy it, would you, boys?
You know, you stop someone on the street, you know, some 16-year-old, you think, you know, half my size, you know, no problems there. Just stand there, turn your back on him, and what's he got in his pocket?
Because of his leg injury, Harinder returned home to spend a couple of days with his family in Leeds.
Food? Oh, no.
I bet you miss that.
Yeah, I do miss home-cooked food. It's not as good as home.
I'm proud of him. He made his mind up. He's going to do that job. He's going to be a policeman. So we are happy what he wants to be. First, I didn't want him to join the police. I was scared. On TV, I watch Bill. Every week I see how policemen get hurt. And a lot of people, they don't like coloured policemen.
I think they were just a bit worried about that, but you know, like I say, I've never found it difficult to get on with anybody from any race. You know, end of the day, I'm there for a reason. I'm there to do my job, and if I'm doing my job right and I'm performing to my best ability, then I don't think anybody like that would worry me at all.
At the moment, Harinder's biggest worry is that his injured leg might mean he'll have to join a later course.
There.
Right. Okay. Right. You've got to put it into perspective. If you don't let that injury heal properly, you're not only looking at recoursing, you're looking at the job. Okay. So although it's everybody's nightmare getting recourse, and it's not even to say that it's going to happen, okay, you know, but let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay. We'll just do the short term.
Harinder's signed off for another day.
I'm absolutely gutted. In a way, I'm relieved that I've got my fitness test out of the way, but this is something that's going to set me back. Nightmare, mate, nightmare.
Where can you search somebody?
On the street. The rest of the class are learning about what powers they have to stop and search people on the street.
You're not going to say, right, just for the hell of it, I'm looking for a weapon, you're coming in the station.
In recent years, the Met has faced a great deal of criticism from some of London's ethnic minorities over the use of these powers.
Station to do this. What it means is we must use our skill of either persuasion. When you've run out of persuasion, at some point you've got to put hands on. How much force can you use?
Reasonable.
Only as much force to achieve your objective. It's absolutely vital that they get stop and search right, especially in the current climate with the Macpherson report, the Lawrence inquiry, etc., and the feeling at the moment how contentious stop and search is. One of the most vital things is getting your reasonable grounds correct. We do not have the power to just go out and carte blanche and randomly search who we like. We must have some objective basis that they are going to be carrying something.
Could I ask you just to turn around, please?
You can ask me.
Yeah. Would you turn around, please, sir? Right. Okay. Would you mind putting that knife down on the side there for us, please, sir?
What?
Can you put it down for us? In fairness, it's a knife, and I'd like to ask you a few questions. You've got a knife in your hand. I'd like you to put it on the wall for me. Thanks very much. Okay. We're from Kingsgate Police Station. I want to just give you a search now. I'm going to search you now.
You want to give me a search?
I'm going to search you now. For any
stop and search has become the political ping-pong ball, because we've gravitated from we must get rid of this power to the Prime Minister saying this is actually a powerful tool in the police armoury for preventing and detecting crime. Now, what we're seeing out on the streets of London at the moment is officers who are scared to use that power. My hope is that officers from here will actually know how to use the power effectively.
Afternoon, sir. Yeah, I'm not glad. Can you just tell me what you do with that baseball bat, please?
As far as I can see, all the problem there's been in the press at the moment and recently is to do with people feeling that they've been stopped unlawfully and that they've been stopped because they are from a minority group, whether it be black, Asian or whatever. It is unnerving in a way. It is something that I will be thinking about when I go into something like that. Although you know that what you're doing is right and you've got the powers to back you up, there is always going to be the potential for conflict. But there's nothing that we can do about that. What's our choice? Either we back away from it and say, OK, we're not going to do stop and searches anymore because people are going to play the race card on us or whatever. We shouldn't feel like that. If we know that what we're doing is right, we know we have reasonable grounds, there really is no problem.
Whose mobile phone's that?
For Claire, things are not so clear-cut.
I mean, I would do it if it was necessary, obviously, but I actually feel as if we've got a hell of a lot of power, and it can, you know, we could be taking away someone's liberty, and at the moment I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Next week, the course throws up more challenges for the recruits.
Down on the floor, down, down, down!
Ultimately, you won't ever have to use them. I want to diffuse situations, not create them.
It's a pen, it's a pen, it's my pen.
It's difficult. I wouldn't like to turn around and say, have I changed? Because I'd be frightened what they'd say. But I think I'm changing for the better.
Down on the floor, down, down, down! Arm outside, palm
At the
up,
Metropolitan Police Training School in Hendon, North London, Craig Jones is discovering what it takes to become a police officer.
Don't keep the pain on and keep lifting them up off the floor. All right, just relax it. Remember, you've got to justify this. So all we do is come in the arms down long, pass your other hand over. He is compliant, so we do a little hand change on the cuff, take hold of the fingers, other cuff goes on. Check for tightness and double lock. OK.
5 weeks into the 18-week course, instructor Tracy Axon is teaching Craig and the rest of his class how to deal with a person resisting arrest.
Handcuffing is a complex skill. It's not as easy as just hitting somebody with a baton. It does require a little bit of dexterity and a little bit of coordination. So when they're under stress, they can tie themselves up in knots, literally. Good, relax the pressure now. Remember what I said, relax the pressure.
It gives you a sense of how to handle situations, but hopefully you won't ever have to use them. You're going to someday, but I want to diffuse situations, not create them.
Down, 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 down. Hey, look away from me. You're going to stop resisting? Yeah. Okay, put your other arm around behind it. No.
Mike Walsh is a 24-year-old chemistry graduate.
No, it's not that hard at all, actually. It's fine. It sort of lets you know the powers that you've got, gives you a little bit more sort of power to take people down. It does hurt, though. You can feel it when they're pulling on you. I'll tell you what, if you cuff somebody and you did that, I don't think they'd argue with you.
No. They're like putting your hands. You only have to do a little thing and they're down on the floor. I think it's brilliant.
But Claire Keating isn't finding every part of the course quite so easy. Claire has wanted to be a police officer since she was 16, but since arriving at Hendon, she's been having problems with some of her practical work. Course instructor Steve Saville is worried about her approach.
I will do anything for you. Come on then.
Claire's having a problem with her assertiveness. She is perhaps too mild-mannered, which is superb qualities when you're dealing with something like, for instance, a sudden death, which you will have to. But when it comes to dealing with other incidences, then you have to be at a position where you are in control, because there is a danger where the suspect can take over and you're basically ineffectual.
We've got a job to do.
I don't like you.
That's fine, sir.
I don't like you one bit. I like you. I think you're gorgeous. Eh?
At the moment, it is just playing. It's just not real. When I'm out in the streets, it's going to be real danger, real problems, real drugs, real knives. And for my own safety, other people's safety, I'm going to have to be more aggressive. I don't think they really would have killed us.
No.
I'm not going to slam her against the wall.
Today, the instructors have decided to put Claire's ability to take control to the test.
What I might do is actually, instead of being confrontational, I will be confrontational because I've done the hello darling bit.
Right.
So I'll be a bit aggressive.
From my point of view, I want to see, is she capable? If we realised that she couldn't do it, she could not make the criteria, there is a distinct possibility that her services would be dispensed with and she'd go.
I've had a report from a member of the public that you've got a knife on you and I'm going to search you.
Don't talk fucking stupid, darling.
Well, I'm not here to argue with you, I'm here to tell you that
I'm really
you're
pissed off. Look, I've had a bad day today. I can do without all this.
Can you stand up? Are you listening? Can you just stand up?
No, just say please.
I'm not here to argue with you.
Oh, all right, well, I don't give a toss.
We can either do it here or down the station.
I'm looking at Claire to be a little bit more positive and take control of the situation, but still remaining calm, confident and polite.
Right, can you give me what you've got in your hand?
I need pens, for Christ's sake.
Stay there.
I ain't going anywhere, am I? It's a pen. It's a pen. It's
All
my
right,
pen
stay
alone.
there.
My grandmother gave me that pen.
Out the side, please, sir. Hands out the side, up in the air.
Oh,
Funny looking pen.
I didn't know. It is, isn't it? Do you know, I didn't... He just gave me that bloke over there.
Stay there.
Stand still, please, sir.
Don't you think this is a little bit over the top?
I had to be aggressive. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I didn't feel as if it was me doing it. I felt as if it was a police officer doing it and not myself.
OK, that is excellent. Who was in charge of that?
Me, I think.
Most definitely. Before, for whatever reason, I don't know why you've suddenly turned, whether you did something over the weekend or what it is, you are a different Claire to the one I saw Friday. Completely different.
You were. I think you were much more confident than you have been for a long time.
I think I'm slowly changing as the fact that when I put my uniform on, I am a police officer. When I take my uniform off, I'm myself. I'm starting to change roles when I put the uniform on. It's quite scary, actually. It's quite scary that the fact that I joined the police as one person, I could be leaving as another.
While they're at Hendon, the recruits are expected to keep fit. But it's backfired for one of the class.
You feeling all right, mate, anyway?
Harinder Bobra's injured his leg playing football. Some of his class have come to see how he is.
If I can, even if I have to struggle, I'm going to go sit that exam tomorrow, because last thing I want to do is start falling behind with my work again.
When are you supposed to be out putting weight on it?
Don't know, I've got to go back to hospital on Monday morning.
But the trip to hospital with Sergeant Burgum reveals Harinder has torn a ligament. It means he'll have to leave the class and join a later course.
What we're going to do now is we'll go back, we'll do the paperwork, and we'll see what you're going to go back to. Well, we're only going to be 3 or 4 weeks behind them. The pain will come when they're passing out, and you'll still be there. Yeah, I've never liked that game of football, see? I've always said it's dangerous. That's why, isn't it? You have bigger setbacks than this in your job, I can tell you that.
To be honest, I've never I never thought that they'd support me or help me the way that, you know, to see some of them though, you know, they were anime shirts and...
Well, that's what it's all about, though, isn't it? That's the whole ethos for Iron Service. You look after each other.
It's got to be one of the worst days of my life, being outclassed. It's a big blow because, you know, I've put a lot into it and I've started to get used to the habit of, you know, the routine, getting up, going to lessons, doing lessons, being in certain places, certain times. But hopefully, give it 2 weeks. I think that's 2 weeks before the next intake is, so I should make it back. Should make it back for the next intake.
Herinder's injury proved more serious than was thought. It was 10 months before he was able to restart his training. For the rest of the class, term continues. In recent years, the Met has attracted a lot of criticism for its policing of multicultural communities. Since the Macpherson report on the death of Stephen Lawrence, 1 week of the training course is now devoted to teaching the recruits how to police London's diverse population.
Hello, so first come over with me, please. I'm PC Breeze from Kingsgate Police Station. Been given a message over my radio.
This Diversity Week was implemented by the man in charge at Hendon, Commander Richard Cullen.
Near the youth club.
Diversity Week attempts to actually focus the officers' attention on what they need to do to police our diverse communities.
I've had an allegation that there's a possibility there's been some drug dealing.
It is about understanding the communities that we actually serve.
Because I've been given this.
It's about dealing with the issues of prejudice, dealing with stereotyping.
I need to do is search you to see if you've got any drugs on you at the moment.
Dump the word fairly. It's actually about treating people appropriate to their needs.
I'm just going to take a hold of this hand, okay?
Okay,
Hold on. Why are you holding me? Am I under arrest or something? No, you're not under arrest. You said you're going to search me. If you're going to search me...
One of the volunteers helping the Met with this part of the training is Wesley Walters Stevenson.
Going into your pocket, if you could tell me what items are in there.
Well, you can go through the pockets and take out anything you want.
Okay.
The purpose of me coming here was giving emphasis to the officers of what the black community have gone through.
I'm just going to have a look in your pockets and your trousers, sir.
Go for it. Because even though they may not be racist, they may not even harbour any racist views, but they've gone into an establishment that have a legacy of it. It's a legacy of discrimination.
Excuse me, sir. Can I just ask you a few questions? My name's PC Hutton from Kingsgate Police Station. This is PC Hagger from Kingsgate Police Station as well. I've had a call come through on my radio that you've been in the area for quite a while and you've been exchanging some packages with a few people. Can you tell me what you're doing in the area?
I just come, well, I actually visit a friend, not too far from it.
Can you tell me what you was doing around by the youth club?
What youth club?
Ricky Utting's performance is being monitored by instructor George Marshall.
You only wanted to ask a couple of questions. I've told you where I've been. What do you want?
Right, OK. As I say, I've had an allegation come through and they said...
I'm looking for Ricky to fully explain the reasons why he is speaking to this person.
That gives me reasonable grounds to
the
search.
reason for the stop, any information he has about the stop.
Search me on what grounds?
But also to take into account the individual's needs. What is this individual's expectations of the police? This is why we involve the lay contributors to give their experiences and how they perceive the police.
So I'm a drug dealer now?
That gives me reasonable grounds to search you.
What allegations? Who did it come from?
That you've been dealing, sir.
Yeah, I've been dealing, so you're calling me a drug dealer, are you?
I'm not calling
you
a drug
telling you,
dealer,
yes,
sir.
you just did. You just told me I've been dealing in white packages. You know something? You can take a run and jump because you ain't searching me.
If you can just listen to me.
No,
okay?
I don't need to listen to you.
I'm giving
Who
you
are
the grounds now.
No, you ain't told me nothing. You ain't told me nothing. Yeah, you can take a run and jump. You can go and suck out. I'll tell you one thing now, yeah? Listen, just because I walk in a predominantly white area, yeah, and I'm a black guy, you think you can just walk over and treat me like shit? Don't talk to me like I'm shit.
I'm going to search you.
No, don't talk. What we're talking about is understanding the black community. What grounds have you given me? What you say? They have to understand their perceptions. What have they been through? What have they heard? No, don't put your hands on me. When a black person gets stopped, how do you interact? How do you make that first initial contact with someone without being aggressive? Well, you know something? I think you're a stranger to the truth. No, don't touch me. Don't put your hands on me. Don't. Right. No. Right.
What's the road there? That's it. Whoa, whoa. Right. Let's end it there. End it there. Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay. Right, where's it? Okay. Back to the classroom. We'll come up and have a discussion about it shortly.
You're all right. I think you were spot on. I just think you discussed
Maybe
it
went on a
too
bit
much.
too long.
Yeah, you just got on with it.
Definitely.
At the end of the day, he got arsey with you straight away. Yeah. Irrespective of what colour it is. I mean, he was the one who brought the colour thing into it. He got arsey with you, and you should just have gone in and done the search. Yeah. But I thought it was excellent. Got a bit of a run there, Ricky.
Because like you guys, you don't think that there's a problem because that's you guys, but the people who've gone before you have helped create the problem. It's like you may not have seen it, but from my point of view, I was just walking, and sorry to say, I picked up aggression because it was the body language and the stance. It had me on the back foot straight away.
Paul? Yeah, when I was asked to look at the body language, and you could see almost from the beginning, Ricky was quite offensive. No, not offensive, but he was on the attack, which I thought might have built up a barrier right from the outset. I mean, just the stern look on his face from the beginning could have created a problem.
James?
I don't think I agree with Paul about Ricky. I thought Ricky went in at a really good level. He's really calm all the time. I think they did really well.
Can you expand on that? What sort of body language were you picking up?
Well, Ricky's face was serious for one. So then it was like, Yeah. But you've got a lovely smile. Look at it. Look. See?
My God.
I think with regards to the race issue, I think Ricky and Alex were excellent. There was no hint of prejudice whatsoever. They were just treating Wesley as I've seen us all treat anybody else in any other role play. Wesley, he was the one who was straight away saying it's because I'm black. He was the one who was bringing the point across, whereas these two really couldn't have cared less what colour he was. And I think that could perhaps be a problem that we have out on the streets, where it's nothing to do with whether we have a prejudice. It's almost the fact that people with that attitude, make the problem for themselves.
Right now, what Michael just said, it could be construed that some black people will create problems for themselves. But then, what instances or interaction have they had with the police beforehand? Yeah. From my point of view, I've had some nightmares with the Met. I've been in instances where, I've had officers actually sit down on me and kick the living daylights out of me. Even when I'm walking the street, I'm more in fear for what might happen because I'm expecting the unexpected. It's like, am I going to be the next one? And am I going to be the next death in custody? Am I going to be the next mysterious death on the street? I don't think so.
Check in this out.
Rick and Alex are responding to a call.
Yeah, but James, think about the big picture, right?
No, hang on. The big picture is, it doesn't matter what colour that person is. They are a threat.
It does.
Yeah, okay, but no. What I'm saying, on the wider picture, if I was stopping you on the street and I'd had a call saying you were dealing in drugs, I think I'd be pretty afraid of you.
No, hold on. You're still failing to take on board is the fact that when you get stopped and searched here, and you have someone whose body language is aggressive, you might not see it, but if you do it in a mirror, and you actually see your stance, your body language. Oh, just a face. No, hold on.
It's up to us to calm the situation down and tell you why we've done it. But if you're going to be hostile, we've got a difficult. We're put in a difficult position.
What you've got to remember is that you're not going to get anything back from a community if you're not willing to understand perceptions. It's not going to be easy for people to take all this in.
At the end of the day, the reason he's here is to make our job easier for us so that we can learn about his community and the way that we're going to be perceived. When I walked away from it, I thought you two had handled it spot on.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared to say that. But now hearing what Wesley's got to say, at the end of the day, it's all about perception, and he perceived it, and he says that other members of the black community will perceive it as being aggressive. Now, we can't argue with that, and therefore we have got a problem. If that's how we're going to be perceived, then we have to do something to try and come across in a less aggressive way.
I'd like you to tell me what to do, because to me...
Well, he's just told you.
No,
he's telling you.
You didn't tell me, really. I mean, OK, if I was the villain...
What I'm telling you,
It's difficult. It's difficult for the students to grasp the concepts behind it. It's not about rules or regulations. It's about the way they actually treat people, treat the individual, treat the communities that these individuals live in, and actually understanding what their needs are.
I never expected that we'd be taught that we would actively have to treat people differently, not as equals. And to me that was a shock. As a kid, I I didn't see people as colours, I just saw them as mates, and it was completely irrelevant to me what colour they were. And yet now I'm coming down to London, and all of a sudden I'm being told, well, actually, that attitude is quite naive, really. Big learning curve for me, definitely.
What we believe to be drugs. We're not saying that to you.
Thank you, people. Good morning. Sit down. Good weekend?
Good.
All right and ready for another battle this week? I hope you've all read your white notes for this week, deception, making off. You all know it, dear? You all know it? Good. So we'll start the morning with, you'll be writing out the definition of deception with regards to property. Also services, so you want deception with property is section...
Section...
Don't know it. Property? Section?
15.
Section?
15.1.
Well, you just looked at your book, didn't you? So you don't know it. Obtaining services by deception?
15.3.
No.
1-1.
1-1. Of what year?
78.
Well done. There's one person knew that. You've got to get your grips around these definitions, people, because this week is a hard week. Your parents and your loved ones are here this morning, and I don't want them coming into my class and seeing that you don't know the subject.
For one day of the course, Hendon opens its doors to the recruits' family and friends, so they can see for themselves what goes on at the school. It's a chance for Sergeant Burgham to show how the recruits are taught.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call a role play, where we set up a situation and try to make it as real life as possible. Are you taking the proverbial out of me? On my back?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's all right then. I get concerned when you're behind me. Especially with hair like that. Stop it. OK, there you go.
Go on, did you call the police?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
PC1 from Kingsgate Police Station.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, see that bloke over there?
Yeah.
Right, well, he's coming in, he's had his haircuts, and I'm doing a special offer, 50p if you're a pensioner. So he's bought in this pension book. So I've been cutting his hair, and as I've been cutting it, I've realised that it's a fake pension book. What are you doing, mate? I want him done.
Right, OK. Right, OK, so now have you got anything to say about that?
I've just been hard up at the moment. You know, the police pension doesn't cover much.
OK, would you like to stand up? I'm arresting you for deception. You do not have to say anything.
Sorry?
I'm arresting you for deception. You do not have to say anything.
I'm not deaf.
But it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand that caution?
Eh? Yes.
OK, right, sit yourself back down.
Right, index exercise.
OK.
Before I start, can I just say that the impression that you're giving now that role plays are jovial and very jokey. They are quite serious, and it's a serious business. It's not fair on the police officer. It's not fair on the people that are watching it. All right, there's a serious side to this. I like a joke as much as anybody else does. You wouldn't be doing a normal role play. So keep it serious, OK? Because you completely lost it there. Right. Any observations from any of the students? Any observations from the parents? Are you impressed?
Well, we've had a laugh while it's been going on. You rightly said it shouldn't have been. When the parents are not here, how heavy does it get, these role plays? How far do you go with them?
I always tell them that every stop and every incident that they go to potentially is a death threat for them. If they become flippant and they go outside and they get very blasé and they go to a call, I had a colleague of mine went to a call, domestic dispute. And everyone thinks, well, domestic dispute, what's a domestic? It's a row between husband and wife. He opened the door and got blown away. Turned out he was a soldier with a rifle. It's right to say that when you're going to any call, you don't know what you're going into.
After the lesson, there's a chance to look round. Claire shows her father the mock court where recruits practice giving evidence.
There are a lot of things fall down when they get to court.
I want to be judge.
Judge, jury and execution.
Yeah, that's right. It's mind-boggling. There's so much more to it than I actually imagined. I imagine it to be like an ordinary college. The only thing I'm worried about is that as a female, you know, she hasn't got the strength to cope. But then I think probably a lot of the people that she'll be dealing with will, at the back of their mind, be a bit less likely to punch a female than they would a man. But I'm very proud. She's always wanted to do this, and she's done it. Off of her own back as well, I might add. Yeah, come on, you're a copper. Pull yourself together.
Although Claire and the rest of the recruits are 2/3 of the way through the course, there are still some major hurdles ahead. Today, Claire has to retake the fitness test she failed in week 3.
Academically, I'm doing really well. It's just the fitness that's the problem with me. If I fail, then I'll have to consider whether I'll be continuing with this career, which would be devastating because it's what I've always wanted to do. But if I'm not up to the fitness standard, then maybe I shouldn't really be here.
Claire's not the only one whose career hangs in the balance. Since he began the course, Mike's attitude has repeatedly brought him to the attention of Sergeant O'Leary.
There has been some friction within his class. Me and Mike have talked a lot about the way that he is perceived by individuals. He sometimes comes across as quite challenging. People who have met Mike have come to me to say, I wasn't very happy with the way that he spoke to me. And that is really important in terms of being a police officer. It's not just important with regards to adapting to your police environment within a police station or on your team. It's important in dealing with members of the public. If Mike's going to speak to a member of the public, and that member of the public is going to think, oh, I didn't like the way he spoke to me then.
That contradicts the white notes, Sergeant.
He seemed a bit challenging or a bit pompous.
I'm not saying property, I'm saying service by deception.
There was no intention when he went in.
What impression does that leave of the service?
Right, answer I've got is making off without payment.
No, but the intention was there when he got the bloke to go into the back of the shop.
Yeah, but it was after the property's been obtained.
No, it's not property, it's service. The service is the cleaning of the suit.
Yes, but it's already been committed. The suit has been cleaned, he's got the suit, now he's asking him to go back. So the offence has been committed. So it's making off.
It's been decided that Mike should attend a review board, where his future at the school will be discussed.
Hi, Mike. I'll just be with you in a sec, okay?
3, 2, 1.
Meanwhile, over in the gym, Claire is starting her fitness test.
Good. PC Keating.
There are 5 parts to the fitness test. Last time, Claire passed all of them, except the press-ups.
Right, come on in, Claire. Let's have it now. Must be strong here. Come on. I think you've got to do 25, and then we'll have it.
Mike's endurance is also being tested. His case conference has been going for nearly 2 hours. But for Claire, it's all over.
I've passed. Relieved. Thank you. Really, really relieved. I couldn't believe it, and I started getting tearful just before the press-ups because I didn't think I could do it, and everyone had to turn their face the other way. And I got a pep talk to say that I can do it. And I did 21, I had to do 20. But so I'm really pleased. That's it now.
Thank you. Sit down, people. Just smiling faces today. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Claire. She did exceptionally well. A couple of serious issues, though. Sergeant O'Leary wants to address you.
I just want to speak about the absent member of the class, Mike. I don't know what rumours you've heard about what's happened. You all
right, left. A contingent. Base. Right. Better effort this time. Look to your front.
At the Metropolitan Police Training School in Hendon, North London, the latest batch of recruits are halfway through their 4-month training course.
Laser tins everywhere. Come on, look up.
Every week, they practice marching in preparation for their passing out parade when they finish the course.
You won't be there on the days and continue the way you're going on. Left, right, left, right, left, right.
But once the recruits leave Hendon, they'll never march again.
Left, up.
Drill practice. I think it's a load of rubbish, to be honest.
Recruit Mike Walsh is a chemistry graduate from Lancashire.
Yeah, I know you love it, James. James absolutely loves it. He's going to be in tears on passing out day.
Is he right?
I'd just like to get my plaque to say bog off and then leave.
It's not
go and have a few
exciting, is it?
beers. No, but I just think the amount of time, the number of hours per week we spend on drill practice, we don't need this, and we spend hours on it. It's good for you. Get out in the fresh air. I know what I think's important, and it's not drill. We know what you think's important.
Once they do become police officers, the recruits will be legally allowed to use 2 weapons, a baton and a CS spray.
Clear on what you're doing? Okay. As soon as you start to feel the mild effects, walk over onto the field.
Part of the lesson on using the spray includes finding out what it's like being on the receiving end.
Walk towards me, facing towards the wind. Do not rub your eyes.
It's like beef and mustard. Stinging, like mustard in your eyes.
Is anyone experiencing any real problems?
Becoming a police officer has been a dream for Claire Keating since she was 16.
My nose is really stinging. Feels like someone's punched it, but apart from that...
12 weeks ago, Craig Jones was working in a leisure centre in Manchester.
It's a good idea though, because since we used it and we got a backlash from it, you're going to be in trouble. I don't think I'll use it.
Treat it as if it is a firearm, because it is. If you mess about with it, you will be disciplined.
If you had a scenario, though, where you had someone who you thought, right, I'm going to have to use CS on it, you think they're going to be violent, would you then let them get that close that you then use your baton? CS sounds like it could be more sort of injurious, but then again, if it's gone after 15 minutes...
Injurious?
No, I don't think it is. I would much prefer to use my CS on someone than a baton. I would say a baton, because it's gone after 15 minutes, whereas with a baton you can break limbs and you can...
It's your call, isn't it? I can't tell you what you would do in an individual circumstance. It's only you that knows that. And really, until it actually happens, you probably won't know how.
Although Mike is academically one of the best performers in the class, his outspoken approach and constant questioning have been causing problems.
Mike, it's been good working with you. Hope we still see each other.
After several warnings about his attitude, the staff have decided he should move to a different class.
Be a bit quiet now. I can get more. I can say more now.
Because apparently they don't want me like having much contact with you lot anymore. Because I've been that much of a bad influence on.
You got to move room.
It is crap. If I'm honest, didn't want to move, but I've got to do it, so I'm just going to bite the bullet and get on with it. Really. Yeah, maybe some people have got the wrong idea of me, but that's probably my fault. Perhaps, you know, just dealing with things in the way that I thought I could do coming from university, but I think in this environment you have to deal with things in a different way. We'll see. I'm just going to keep my head down anyway. Make it a lot easier for myself. Just disappear into the background. Yeah, right. Morning. Morning.
Mike's move is a disappointment for his old classmate, Mark Edwards.
I do believe they made a mistake by moving him. I think he's very misunderstood as a person, because Michael does come across sometimes as being a bit arrogant and all this, but he's not really. I think he's a very nice person, a good bloke. He was funny, so I do miss his personality. I mean, he made me laugh, basically. And in this place, you need people like that.
The training at Hendon has come under scrutiny in recent years because of the barrage of criticism the Met has faced. They've been particularly condemned for their handling of racial crimes.
So a few swear words thrown in, you tell your black bitch or black bastard to move his car from
Today, instructor Tracy O'Leary is briefing a team that is going to act out a racial incident which the recruits have to deal with.
As the suspect. So you've gone round there to confront the person and it's spilled out onto the street and you're having this nose-to-nose confrontation. So we want some kind of conversation from the suspect, a very raised voice but no sort of threat of violence, okay?
He is an ignorant black bastard.
In this scenario, the man is supposed to be angry because he thinks the woman's West Indian husband has taken his parking place.
I paid for that parking space.
The police can arrest someone if they can prove that their racial abuse is causing distress.
I just don't like to think that people I'm living next to have such opinions of me and my family. It's not on.
And this is what Mark has got to establish.
What were your feelings? I'm trying to ascertain exactly what feelings you were actually feeling at the time. Did you feel threatened by this gentleman at all?
You know, pissed off.
Sure.
Just upset about the whole thing. I mean, you know.
Fair enough. I mean, you've taken offence, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're sorted then? I can't get in my parking space.
I appreciate that, sir. She's already.
No,
she's already.
Don't appreciate it. Ignorant fucking West Indians do my head in.
You're using verbal abuse here, sir. You've caused this lady distress. Okay.
No,
no. Listen.
I've been casting my opinion.
Fine.
That's what I think.
Listen,
I think he's ignorant. They're all ignorant.
Fair enough. I'm actually placing you under arrest.
Before?
This is what I'm saying to you, please. I'm placing you under arrest for the Section 4A of the Public Act, Public Order Act. Okay.
Is it really?
You
have a habit of saying that, though, don't you, after a role play, that it was a disaster?
I was all the time was going through my head intent on his part.
Yeah.
I was trying to get from Alison, was she distressed, harassed, which obviously she was.
The point is I'm working through that your thought processes are right in terms of the application of the legislation, which they obviously are. Good eye contact, lovely tone, nice steady tone, not aggressive, not sort of trying to provoke anything, just okay, yeah, I'm being fair, I hear you, but that doesn't satisfy me and this is what's going to happen. Lovely, really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought that was
But being good at practical work is not enough. Every week the recruits have to sit a written exam on what they've learnt so far. If they fail more than 4, it can mean the end of their career. With just 3 weeks to go until they finish, 16 of the original 90 recruits have already left the course. Despite the fact Mark's a graduate and has 10 years' experience as a volunteer police officer, he's failed nearly half of the exams. He's already survived 2 review boards about the failures and has been given extra help.
The pressure has been so intense. I mean, you've got to really, really want to pass here. You've got to really, really want to get out there. And I do. And I know that now. The last few days I've been asking a lot of questions to myself. Do I really want to be a police officer? Do I really want to help the people of London? Do I want to get out there where it's dangerous for the people, to help the people? That's all I want to do. And yeah, the answer is yes.
Everyone here?
The results of the latest exams are back. Mark has to get 70% to pass.
Okay, if you listen there. Jackie, 90%. Well done. James, 75. Leslie, 85. Mark, 60. Alex, 85. Ricky, 90. Well done. And David, 100%. Well done. Okay, right, we'll just get on with what you're doing, and we'll speak to you soon.
Mark has got 2 options. He can either resign straight away or try and convince another review board to let him continue. For one of Mark's instructors, Steve Saville, the answer is obvious.
It looks as though he's going to leave us. I have advised him to resign, save himself all the heartache of building his hopes up. And he informs me that he's contemplating resigning this afternoon.
He recommended I resign because I think he was thinking about me more than anything else. I actually do genuinely believe that the staff are pretty upset. I mean, I think they're as upset as me, to a certain point of view. And, Christ.
Where do we draw the line? 9 failures is bordering on totally unacceptable. It shows a lack of knowledge and could possibly be a danger to himself and others if you're out on the street and you don't know what you're doing. It's one thing being able to control people, being able to speak to them, being able to do the easy stuff, but you really do have to have the depth of knowledge that we set here at Hendon. And unfortunately, if you can't cut the mustard, as it were, you leave. Unfortunately, it's a sad fact.
Mark has a few days to decide what he's going to do. In just 3 weeks, the recruits are due to leave Hendon and start work on the streets. With little time left, the exercises become more complicated and realistic.
This is Kingsgate Cinema. Okay. You sort of fell over on the stairs.
Today, the lecture theatre is doubling up as a darkened cinema for Tracy O'Leary's latest exercise.
They will get called to a central station alarm. They will meet someone purporting to be you.
Recruit Leslie Dutton is playing the manager who has been assaulted by an intruder.
I want you to sort of moan, because when they find you, if they find you, you're going to be sort of slipping in and out of consciousness, and you'll just have some really groggy details coming out, like 2 blokes, you know, that sort of stuff, really sort of bitty information coming out.
Tracy wants to see how well the recruits think under pressure and if they work as a team. They're called to what appears to be a straightforward burglary, but Tracy has planned a few hidden surprises.
And it's really then looking at how they deal with that. So it's sort of a fight or flight thing. Right. Okay, is that all right, Leslie? Yeah? Great. So it's going to be quite dark. I'll let you get comfortable and then I'm going to turn the lights off. It's to consolidate a lot of things that they've covered over recent weeks to put them all together. The scenario is geared towards their decision-making on whether they're going to go into the premises, and really the biggest element's officer safety. And they will fall into the trap of they will think, well, I have to go in, or because I've got an injured person, then I have to do it, and I have to do it now, without any really forethought of what they're walking into or how they can sort of limit the officer's safety risks. And for me, that's probably the most important learning exercise.
Claire and Craig are the first officers to arrive. They meet a man claiming to be the assistant manager. They have to quickly decide whether or not to let him go.
I really need to go and use the phones. I'm just going to wake people up. We're going to get a complaint, so we're going to get... just going to be trouble.
Yeah, okay, I can't see why not then.
Yeah, okay then. Right, I'll do that.
911, you've got to sit right over. Got what? Situation report, please. Oh.
One location.
Yeah. Just got to say one. Yeah, we're still on location. We're about to enter the premises. We were met by the manager. We're now about to enter. Okay. Yes, received.
Oh, anybody up there? What's wrong with you, Leslie? Tell me what's wrong with you. Your head can be moved, can't
Can
Leslie?
we have an ambulance to the cinema, please? Got possible head injury. Yeah,
What Claire and Craig should have done as well is call for some help and some tortures. But that's not their only mistake.
You've not got an assistant manager. I'll be one of the suspects.
Pick up around the back.
Leslie, come on, talk to me.
Yeah. Craig. Yeah. I'm clear down here, mate. Okay. Can I have someone up? Yeah, can I have someone up here with me? Right. Yeah. Shout, Michael.
People respond differently to this exercise, and it's a good exercise because it's more real, where they're having to make real decisions. When the person feels threatened, they do one of two things. They either run away from it or they confront it and they fight it. And different people react in different ways. Yeah? And Sam, you were first through the door. Oh, what were you faced with?
A nightmare.
What was your initial reaction when you saw that? Was there adrenaline?
It was that split second, and then you start thinking your tactical options.
Well, you were thinking tactical?
Well, yeah, I got to a point I actually pulled my CS and sprayed. Actually,
yeah,
what was
I saw that, yeah.
And did that...
Good idea up there?
No, enclosed area.
Well, the problem was,
there was another option that you had. Fine to say, yeah, OK, your initial reaction, Sam, was sort of 2 steps back, but I'd have liked to have seen you keep going. I'd have liked you back out those doors. Containment should have been at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah, that was a very dangerous situation. 3-foot baseball bat's heavier and longer than your asp. It's going to take your head off and redecorate the wall. So just back off, you know.
I guarantee all 5 of you in there would be seriously injured. And as soon as one of you makes a decision not to back off and contain, you immediately compromise everybody else. Because, Sam, you get hit with a baseball bat, you go down on the floor, you then have all the other officers having to make a decision about going in to save your life. Yeah, which is a situation that, in retrospect, you'll probably wish you'd never put them in.
They've still got a lot to learn. But time's already up for Mark Edwards, and he's made his decision.
No, I'm not going to resign. I phoned me mum. If I went home and said to them I resigned and there was a possibility of me fighting it, they go mad. Because they're identical to me. I mean, if you knew my mum and my sister, you'd understand where I've come from. Do you follow me? Because we've been through the same things in life. We've all been through shit, basically, and we've always come out the other end. And for any one of us to give up is just not the Edwards way of doing things. We're like that in Gloucestershire, we don't give up.
But to stay, Mark's once again got to convince Chief Inspector Toland, who's in charge of recruit training at Hendon, that he's worth keeping. Mark's got the support of his Police Federation rep, but it's not going to be easy with the Met's new, tougher training policy.
We'll switch them back on. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
We've given a pledge that no one will leave here unless they reach the required standard. When I first arrived, there was an ethos here at the time that we'll send people out, give them a chance to show whether they can do it practically. Well, some people failed, and they failed terribly.
The last case conference we did what Mark's overall...
I mean, to me, that was a ludicrous situation. So, for me, it's about making a difficult decision. I have to consider the individual needs. But I think the bottom line is the needs of the police service.
When he gets a question which asks him just quite simply to tell the difference between this or that, he has problems. We have to face that. We have to ask ourselves the question, do you have the sufficient knowledge to leave here at this particular time? I can't be confident in saying that. I cannot support that he leaves here next week without being sure that he has that knowledge.
I want to be confident of going out there as well, in myself. And it's important for me to have that confidence to do the job. I have tried my best, so...
I don't think anyone's questioning that you haven't given it 150% effort. It's just a question of, have we reached a stage where you can leave here?
But I'm so committed.
Before his last review board, Mark had told Chief Inspector Toland that he had some serious family problems at home.
It's just so frustrating for me.
You raised the welfare issue.
Yeah.
There were welfare issues at that time which I felt were affecting your performance. I'm very angry about the fact that that hasn't been followed up. However, I have to think about things like civil litigation. We are in the times now where if you make mistakes and your heart rules your head out, you could get complaints, take the wrong action, arrest when you shouldn't have arrested, and you can get yourself and your colleagues into a lot of difficulty. I agreed with something you said earlier, which was...
An hour later, it's all over.
Here we go.
Mark is allowed to stay, but he has to retake the last 5 weeks of the course, and he must pass all the exams.
Things are still very, very difficult for him, and by no means is he out of the woods, but at least he's been given the opportunity to try to prove himself, really. So, yeah, I mean, as best a result as we could have hoped for, but things are still going to be very difficult.
Do you think he'll make it?
I don't know.
It's just sunk in. I'm not going to leave the class. I'm leaving the class, and I'm not going to pass out. But then again, I've still got a job. The dream is still alive to go out there. That's important. So, yeah. Exhausting, though.
In a few days, the rest of the class will be leaving Hendon. The Before they go, they're introduced to some of the horrors they will have to deal with out on the streets.
Is there anybody here that doesn't want to see the photographs? Claire, do you want to?
I'm not sure.
What, do you want to have a go and then leave if you don't want to, or?
Yeah.
Yeah? Jackie, do you want to see?
Dealing with everything from victims of sexual abuse to violent death will inevitably be a part of their job.
OK, the next photograph that's going to be coming round is sort of in the very advanced stages of decomposition, not to the point of where you're going to see maggots and stuff, so you shouldn't feel too bad about that, although you might, yeah, you do on one of the pictures if you look close. It's not pleasant, it's not a pleasant subject. There are going to be some very, very horrific sights that they're going to see and experiences they're going to have, and they have to be able to cope with that. You know, it's not something they can pick and choose, it's part of the job and something they have to come to terms with.
I'm not sure about the angle of his leg here.
Well, that's spun round. The impact took his head. There's bits of head on the front.
I would imagine so.
Shit. That is vicious.
How cool is this? Oh, his legs are off as well. And you can't even see the eyes.
Yeah, you can...
It's just black and blue.
Yeah, I mean, that looks like he's either fallen or been hit by something on the face. It's not as bad as it looks, is it? Not as bad as you think it's going to be.
No.
Surely someone would notice.
Is that real? Still got the socks and everything. That's mad. So that's an 18-monther, is it?
Yeah, it got to have been there for a considerable time, yes.
Bloody hell.
It's just like seeing it in the films. Just like somebody's made it and it's there. But you don't think of it as being a body. You can't, because otherwise it just completely screw you up.
I don't know how it'll affect me. Never experienced it, so I'm sure there'll be a first. I think that's just cool.
We'll see if we can get a frame for you, Dave.
Like with any sort of sensitive subject, one of the coping mechanisms of the police service is humour. You know, that's not a reflection of their attitude towards the event, it's just their way of coping with the situation. And sometimes the circumstances are quite amusing. An awful lot of people die on the toilet from their efforts on the toilet. And an awful lot of men die doing something that perhaps women don't do quite so often. And sort of Claire, are you okay?
Yeah, it wasn't actually that bad. I thought it was going to be.
Sam's raising the issue of smell, which we have to sort of discuss.
Before they leave at a protest march laid on by the Met Public Order Branch, the recruits have one last chance to practice all the skills they are supposed to have learnt.
That's it. Keep vigilant, keep watching the crowd, watch your colleagues.
They not only have to spot offences occurring in the crowd, but also to decide if they have the right grounds for an arrest.
So then it gets filled up. Be cautious, keep your dress in. Contain the march, your clothes and keep...
This is serious stuff. I mean, someone's going to get seriously hurt or killed here. Do you feel at any stage your backs were exposed to being knifed? Did you challenge him too early? Tell me, you tell me.
No, I don't think so.
Keep your dress in, don't let any gaps filled up. Always keep your eye on the crowd, listening and learning, yes? Watch out for anything might be going on.
All we've got is them saying that a package has been exchanged between two people. And they can't honestly say that they believe that that is drugs unless they are fully aware that they know exactly what it is. And they didn't gather with enough partners, if you like, but we haven't actually got the person that's in possession of it. And really, that's not sufficient for us to have a good arrest and a good conviction.
Anything you do say may be given evidence.
Right, Alec, what have you arrested him for?
Drunk in a public place.
What else do you need for Section 25? For the power of arrest for drunk?
Clear that you're going to do damage to yourself or others.
Or others. You are going to come to some harm if I let you go. Have you done a lawful arrest?
I'll go for that, don't worry. No.
You haven't?
Yeah, it's a bit tough because you got to arrest if it's serious, but you don't want to arrest too quickly because then you lose bodies from the cordon. So it's a bit of a tough decision, but I want to get an arrest.
Everybody!
Oh, it's fantastic. It's good to be policing a demonstration like this, just knowing what to do, and
When it all kicks off, it brings all your knowledge back that you've learned. It's brilliant.
This is information they've learnt in Hendon, which is quite easy. It's being thrown at them at 90 miles an hour. And I can just see that they are struggling. Mike Walsh, he's the only one who'd done a lawful arrest. And I think a lot of them got it wrong. They were making very basic mistakes like arresting drunks and not arresting them properly. All going out the window because of a little bit of adrenaline. And this is treated semi-serious, but it's also a bit of a laugh for them because you can see everybody smiling. God knows what will happen when they actually go out on the street and it's for real. They've got a lot to learn, and pretty damn quick as well.
In a week's time, as new probationers, their training will continue out on the streets. But with the course at Hendon finished, they now get the warrant cards, which give them the full powers of Metropolitan Police officers.
Every little thing you do, it makes you learn something about yourself, about who you are. Yeah, you learn so much and you change so much, and it's all changed for the better. I've not been cloned or made into a robot. It's just plain and simply, I've realised what I can do, and the police service has brought that out of me.
Well done, everybody. This course, for some, is more difficult than others, but you've all worked hard to get through it, so congratulations. Keep yourselves very safe out there, and I wish everyone the very best of luck. And this is the last time that you're going to be together as a group, so just remember that. After this, straight up to Simpson Hall, parade this afternoon, and party tonight. Can look forward to seeing you all later for a beer.
Cheers, boys. Cheers, officers. One for all.
They say that people come to Hendon to learn, and every person learns a different thing. The way I am now, it's probably a bit quieter, a bit more reserved.
It's gobby wide.
At the moment, it's perhaps slightly unnatural, but when I go onto division, hopefully I'll get the balance right and things will work well. If not, I'll be looking for another job in a few months, I think.
In close order, inwards! Cheers!
Good morning, sir. You're in intake 9 of 99, with the pleasure of your inspection.
Thank you very much.
The Metropolitan Police Training School in Hendon, North London. After 4 months' hard work, the latest batch of recruits are practising for their passing out ceremony this afternoon. But after the end of course party last night, recruit Mike Walsh is in trouble.
You count the red eyes this morning, do we? Count the red eyes, yeah.
It's 10:15, and the entire intake apart from me is on parade. Probably had a couple of shandies too many. And sort of slept through my alarm. Oh dear.
What if you're on division, and what would you expect to happen to you?
Serious trouble.
Yeah, the discipline, wouldn't you? The likelihood of some form you'd be disciplined. How much did you have to drink last night?
I've been lying to myself a reasonable amount.
It's been a hard 18 weeks, isn't it? You don't want to let yourself down. You have let yourself down, and I think that's enough.
Be on time this afternoon, be smart, and we'll hear no more of it, okay?
Okay.
Thanks for your honesty. Okay.
Sergeant.
A few hours later, the recruits' families and friends converge on Hendon to watch the ceremony.
Hi. Hello. I better not crease you. Come here, mother and father.
Oh, this is one of my instructors, Staff Marshal.
Hello there. Well, he's made it eventually.
Yes. Despite being a character.
Sorry?
Despite being a character.
Yeah, he's definitely been a character, yeah. He's kept us all amused.
I'm really looking forward to putting all the training into practice, and I'm looking forward to working with real people. Not just to go and arrest people, but I want to get to know them and get them to know me and build up a rapport with them. There's a different challenge every day. It's exciting. You never know what you're going to be going into. There's a danger element there. Well, I'm chomping at the bit now, you know. I want to go.
Yeah, and you're going to...
Today, the recruits are being inspected by the Met's Commissioner, Sir John Stevens.
The police station got some very, very good IT stuff down there. You find it quite exciting there, I think.
Mike is going to be working at the same police station as 25-year-old Claire Keating.
I just want to get out on the streets and find out what it's really all about.
Good luck, anyway.
It's okay learning all the theory, but it's not real life. I don't think there's any other job in the world that's going to give you the challenge, the variety. There's going to be bad times as well, but I just really want to get out there now. Definitely.
I was going to say, my heart's killing me. But no, I'm really pleased. It's all open to them with now.
Said it. It's all on said it. Speak to said it.
After a week's leave, the recruits report to their new police stations. It'll be another year and a half before the probationers, as they are now called, finally finish their training.
Hi, I'm just starting my street duties today.
For the next 10 weeks, they'll be shown the ropes out on the street by a police instructor.
Room, I guess.
Mike Walsh is going to be policing Southwark in South London.
Is that the changing room?
Today, Claire is starting too.
I'm very nervous. I hope... I don't know, I've got mixed feelings. I'm really nervous and I'm really excited as well.
I wasn't nervous before, like last week, but... It started to kick in yesterday because it was yesterday I was thinking, oh no, it's tomorrow, and so yeah, I'm getting a bit nervous now.
Knowing that we've got someone with us is reassuring for the next 10 weeks, so if anything goes drastically wrong they can sort of cut in and stop us. Hopefully before we do something illegal.
It's a bit sort of daunting as well because you know that you're doing it for real now, and yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but the difference is the mistakes you make really count for something now, so...
4 months ago, Craig Jones was working at a leisure centre in Manchester. But today, he too is starting at his new station at Forest Gate in East London.
Sorry, Craig. Wait for Forest Gate. Sorry, you don't know Sean, do you? That's all, it's Craig. Oh, Craig. Do you want to come and have a cup of tea? Actually, we've got any tea in here?
Day by day, isn't it? Pressure's built up a bit. You've been thinking, I mean, 1 day to go, or 2 days to go, 1 day to go. Now we're finally here. So, it's been a nerve-wracking few days. But see what today brings.
14 cells at Forest Gate and 2 detention rooms. The detention rooms are for the juveniles. But as you can see, this is what they get. We've never been in the cell before. Get full ensuite facilities and a luxurious quality mattress, and it's also fully told with its own air conditioning.
If you are a posted jailer, certain categories of prisoners have to be checked more regularly than others. For example, drunks, yeah? Some drunks have 15-minute checks and stuff like that. And your responsibility as jailer will be to come down and make sure they're okay.
Providing them with meals, taking if they need to see the doctor, take them to see the doctor.
And what's the big boat that we got?
That is called HMS... I've forgotten. Belfast.
Over in Southwark, instructor Tony Glock is making sure Mike will be able to find his way about.
I must be the only person in Britain who doesn't know what that is.
As you go past the corner, don't look straight ahead, look down.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, instructor John Walters shows Claire around.
Oh, quite nosy doing things.
It's paid to be nosy, it's the best job in the world.
Wing Dragon Court.
There's a new one on me.
That's it.
There we are, sir. Well done. That's good observation there.
Time of arrival was 1:15. So make that 2:15.
Come here then. Come here. Here we are again.
That's at 7.
I think so.
If you don't think about what you're going to say,
You get fluffed.
you get fluffed and you get...
Ditzy. And you said the wrong thing.
You say the wrong thing.
Right, back to the Nick, I think. Right, which way's Guy's Hospital?
Is it down there?
Yeah, Elephant and Castle.
It's strange because all these people are coming up to you and, oh, can I have your photograph, can I have your photograph? And you just forget. I still don't sort of think of myself as a police officer, really. It's strange. I'm not used to being in uniform at all on the streets. It's different to being at Hendon because you're just still sort of, you're in a little closed society. Then you go out onto the streets and it's like normal people are seeing you. It's a bit weird.
I'm still really nervous. I'm not sure what I'm saying on the radio because now we're not really playing on the radio, you know, like we were before. So it's all for real now, meeting real people. Everyone so far, touch has been really nice.
It was quite a good day, really. Nice, easy day, wasn't it?
Entered ourselves into quite a few people's cameras, haven't we?
You remember what time you arrived at the station?
They've gone through today where people have been happy to see them, photographs, etc. I think the next step is to find someone that doesn't want you there and just to deal with that.
Kent Road,
yeah.
the junction of the Elephant and Castle main roundabout.
Yeah.
They certainly need confrontation, but actually to say, right, you were being reported for a specific offence and get them to face up to people who aren't really that interested in either being stopped by the police or being reported by the police.
Once you can deal with that, then I think you can deal with a lot of things, can't you?
Halfway there, yeah.
Like most young, single officers in the Met, Mike is renting a room in a police section house.
The word palatial springs to mind. It's lovely, isn't it? Very posh, salubrious. Oh, it smelt of vomit. Because there's still bits of it splashed around the sink. But they do allow you to have visitors here, which is different to Hendon. So if you have a guest you want to bring back, you're allowed to. That's the one redeeming feature of the section house.
Whether you see and you fancy it, just shout out. Calls come out. Anything that appears unusual.
Is this where the Metro was before?
On his first day out with instructor Sean Morell, Craig finally gets a taste of dealing with the public.
So
what road's this now?
we're seeing Green Street.
Green Street.
Find out when the RPA happened.
Oh, we'll stop this, let's go. We'll stop it. Signal for it to stop.
Sorry? Stop this one.
No seatbelt, it's his speed. Approaching the zebra crossing with his speed. Oh, mate. Just turn your engine off, drum on the pavement.
It's your car, yeah.
I've got everything on me anyway.
Got your insurance, MOT?
Not on me yet.
Home.
There's another CAD for the 6th of March in relation to being stolen to the road.
The vehicle check.
Right.
6th of March.
Kilo Foxtrot from 362. Can I have a vehicle check on... What road are we on? Road. Green Street, over.
Yep, I'll do it on Channel 2 for you.
Stop.
Over in Southwark, Claire's practising by stopping cars driving in bus lanes.
So I have to stop running after them.
10 o'clock.
Hello, sir. Do you realise why I've stopped you?
Well, I got stuck in that lane, I couldn't get out. 50 yards down there, it's not a bus lane, and then you come to a little section of bus lane. I mean, it's ridiculous, really. And I couldn't get out, it's bumper to bumper traffic.
Okay, well, I saw you from the junction down the road.
You couldn't have seen me from down the road. You saw me from when that weren't a bus lane at them lights, and then it goes into a bus lane, then it comes out of a bus lane.
Fortunately for your seatbelt endorsement there, it's only a fine, isn't it, Lloyd? Queen Street. Green Street.
Green Street, that's it. Get there again.
Before you know it, you stood there not knowing what to do.
I know you're aware that, because I can see the cogs turning in your head when you're talking to these people.
Yeah.
The cogs are turning and you're thinking, what do I say next? And, you know, you feel sort of awkward when there's like a pregnant pause. But don't worry, because, I mean, at the end of the day...
That's what I'm picking up off you. Every stop we do, there's a new line that I'm picking up.
Excellent.
I'll just pay the fine, because I'm not going to be bothered to go through all these stupid procedures and take months.
There you go, it's your copy.
Is that it, yeah?
Right, yeah, that's it. I didn't tell him to have a nice day.
I think you would have upset him when you said that. I think he would have thought you were being sarcastic there. Was his tax just correct?
Yes, it was.
So what month was on it?
That's a lie.
All right, one thing, don't run after the car.
No.
You will look very stupid if he does drive off and you're running after him. Stop.
Yeah.
Or you're running along the...
I'm saying, young man.
Or you run along the road and go, "Bah." Then I will laugh.
You'd be really cruel. Giving somebody a ticket knowing they're going to get fined, that's not really something I'm ever going to like doing. My reasons for joining the police were to make a difference to people's lives, help people, and that seems to go against everything. I know they've maybe done something dangerous, but to give somebody a ticket, that's going to take a bit of getting used to.
We've done 3 or 4 stops now, and from the beginning of the day I was really nervous, and now I'm bringing with confidence. I want to get my next one in, get some paperwork done. So it's good. It's just a matter of keep asking questions, ask. Because when they come in your face, because I've not got the experience, you think, whoa. And I realise that you've got to overcome that. That's the hardest part, realising it. It's good.
After a few days, the new probationers are sent out in police cars.
10 blacks fighting. 10 plus fighting. 10 plus fighting.
Tonight, it's Mike's turn.
What was that?
8 ones, put it out.
Oh, fucking hell. Sorry. Every day I'm learning something. I pick something up from my tutors or something that I've gone into. I've learned a little bit more about myself or the way that I would deal with something. And it's like, right, I want to go out and I want to do it again. I want to get better. And it's, you know, all the time I'm wanting to go out and do more and more and more. And it's good. Yeah, no regrets whatsoever. It's definitely the right choice.
Crossing.
Yeah. You parked. Yes, you were. You were parked on the controlled area of a zebra crossing on the zigzag lines. Right. Well, it's an offence to park. Okay. Well, I am going to give you a ticket. Okay. Can I have your name, please?
He's confident. Nearly too confident. Nearly too confident. His procedural knowledge is good. His knowledge on law is good. But its practical application isn't quite there yet.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
No, I don't. I'm not an illiterate.
I'm not saying that you are.
His communication skills could be a little better, simply because he's not used to dealing with people in a confrontational way. That is better than a lot, but the demands are greater from when I was in a probationer to now, so they just have to learn quicker.
Good, actually. Dealing with all sorts of different calls, really. No arrest. What's going on? How can I not get an arrest on Friday night? What's everyone doing? They must just be there, sat in the pub thinking, what time does Mike knock off? Oh, it's 10, isn't it? He's doing 2 till 10. Till, let's get absolutely bladdered in the pub. Do nothing, be really good. And as soon as 10 o'clock comes, we'll all go out and get mullered and have a fight. How about that? I think that's what they're all doing.
Can you listen to what I've got to say? Are you listening to what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right, I'm arresting you for being drunk and disorderly. Okay, you do not have to say anything.
Out on foot patrol, Claire has been called to deal with a drunk.
Something you later rely on court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
What?
Hang on. Go on. Right, I need to suffer on. Right.
It's Claire's first arrest.
He seemed okay to start with, but he was very drunk. He started swearing. My adrenaline's really going. I don't need drugs, do you? I just joined the police.
charge.
Over in East London, Craig has also arrested a drunk with the help of his instructor, Chris Mitchell.
Fucking damn bottle of weed. You fucking didn't have to my leg. I was up the man's dick. I was up his fucking ass.
Calm down. Calm down.
You're
going to come speak to me?
I was fucking over the top, big man. Over the top of you, man. You understand?
To the sergeant. We'll sort it out in 1 minute.
You saw never see the street.
Claire has finally got her drunk back to Southwark Station and Mike lends a hand.
Come on, mate, come on.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, number 6, please.
Come on, mate, get your legs up.
Right,
man on the head, out you come. Door closed, door closed.
Beautiful.
See how it works? Excellent.
Well done, everyone.
Oh, smelly.
Cool, can I wash my...
Yeah, please.
God, it's stuck.
Bill, I want to be over here this minute.
Craig's prisoner was caught stealing sherry from a supermarket.
You've had a bit to drink today, yeah?
No, it's fucking 3 pence. Put your gloves on, sir. You know when you stick your fingers up my ass or then...
No, we don't want to stick our fingers up your arse. Don't be so stupid.
Fucking woman touching my ass, innit?
Yes.
No, he's not.
When did you get there and fucking feed me in the cell?
Hey, there's no
Feed me in the cell.
Come on, take your watch off.
Just take your watch off.
I swear my mother will kill him for you. You have to be like...
Come on, just take your watch off.
Don't you fucking talk to me like that.
You said you didn't want to be in here very long. It's going to take you 3 hours.
I'm here, innit?
Oh, that woke him up.
In Southwark, the charges against Claire's prisoner have mounted.
No,
All right.
we're in charge, tell him.
Okay.
Helped by instructor Len Harvey, Claire has to tell the prisoner exactly what offences he's committed.
Yeah. Okay, originally you was arrested for drunk and disorderly. Yeah, but because your conduct continued, you were then arrested for disorderly behaviour under Section 5, Public Order Act.
Keep going.
Yeah, and because you also kicked my sergeant, you was also arrested for assault. Do you understand? All right, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way I would have been able to control him. It's just too strong for me. I think he would have thrown me around like a rag doll, wouldn't he?
He was a powerful man, and she didn't back off at all. We're just talking about the handcuffing, where we're taught certain ways of putting handcuffs on, but the reality is you can't do that. You put them on any way you can.
Just get him on, don't you?
Because if we hadn't handcuffed him, he'd have probably hit us as well, I reckon.
Get a good part of that shit over there and get caught, can't I?
6 hours after being arrested, Craig's prisoner is released on bail.
You put all this back in your pockets. You got your all-important tobacco.
Yeah, that's it, man. I'll eat it.
Stuff do you carry? Whatever that is.
Right, thank you. Sorry to cause you any trouble, gentlemen. See you again.
Going home.
3 hours ago, you were itching to get out of here, weren't you? You don't want to go. Come this one,
Take care.
Cheers. Yeah.
That's probably Craig's first little bit of conflict, but it's just verbal abuse, so rather than the physical side of it. But no, we did well. And as you can see, he's come out now. We've dealt with him as fairly as we possibly could. He obviously responds to being treated fairly like he has done. And when you release them, even though he's been charged with offence, he goes away thanking you for sort of charging him, basically. So if you can treat people like that and you can treat them fairly and they go away at the end of the day like that, then it sort of proves we've done a good job, or we've certainly done our part of it.
You just got to take it. I mean, it's nothing personal at the end of the day. He's had a few drinks. And even if it is personal, I mean, he's not your friend, so just get on with it, do the job. Just keep thinking ahead all the time, one step ahead of him.
Remind me next time I deal with a drunk to put my rubber gloves on.
But I'm still itching now. I don't know why I'm itching. Just psychological. Don't say you've been bitten.
You've got little white things there.
Oh no, don't, that's gross. No.
There's not many, they're just moving around.
No, that's disgusting. Is he lying? I haven't got white things running around.
There's only a couple, mate. They're not that big.
Not many.
They look really drunk as well.
Yeah, they probably are.
At some point in their careers, most police officers will have to cope with death. To help the probationers deal with this, during their first 10 weeks, each one is taken to their local mortuary to see a post-mortem.
Because I don't really know what to expect. I've had, my imagination's been running wild. All sorts of things have been popping into my head. I've got my mints to take away the taste of death, apparently, and I've got a little bottle of perfume and a hanky to take away the smell.
I don't like to be too far away from the
The probationers from Fulham are making their trip too. At 19, Jackie Breeze was one of the youngest recruits at Hendon.
It really isn't, it's not the same as looking at someone who's alive, because they're not. But the smell is definitely not nice.
I'm not looking forward to going at all, but I suppose it's something that you've got to get used to. I've never seen a dead body at all before.
It's just this thing that I have about seeing a dead body. I've never seen a dead body before, and it's a bit worrying, really. I don't know quite how I'm gonna feel about it.
This is a routine post-mortem that we do on non-suspicious bodies. I've already opened his head, so you won't be seeing that, but I'll be able to take his brain out and...
The point of this is so that we can find out what caused this man's death. By definition, these are sudden, unexplained deaths usually, so that's why we don't know an awful lot sometimes before.
It's all through the ribs, so I can gain access to the chest organs. You have to see the neck organs, obviously, to see if somebody's been strangled. The lungs are very stuck, which shows that there has been some infection there. We take the organs out in 3 sections here. We take the chest organs, the abdominal organs, obviously the bowel as well comes out.
So what sort of things are you looking for?
We really just look for anything abnormal, like stuck wounds and bleeding where there shouldn't be, and bruising to the neck and things like that. That's the brain. That's the brain stem, part of the brain.
It's like yours, Martin, but bigger.
It wasn't as bad as I thought. It did look like a waxwork, really, the first body when I saw it. I'd like never to have to see him post-mortem again, though.
It's all right now, I'm fine. Now that I've dealt with it here and I know what it's like, when I actually have to deal with it on the streets, I'm going to be a lot more prepared for it, and I'm not going to have those initial feelings that I had when I walked in. You know, I've already dealt with those and got rid of it. So now I'll just be able to focus on the job in hand and hopefully be a lot more professional.
Can you get yourself in a position to see if there is anybody outside?
Back on duty, Claire and instructor Keith Moody receive a call about a man threatening someone outside a local job centre.
For some reason, someone said that he might have a gun. And the control room don't want me to go up to him, obviously, for safety reasons. Just hang back here.
Apparently, after a female member of staff had had an argument with a passerby, he threatened to kill her.
Is 403. Can you make your way to the location now?
Yeah, we'll do, Sarge.
Yeah, where's that, Sally?
Just want to come with me. Just come round to the side. Just keep your hands where I can see them for a moment. Okay. Just come round to the side. I'll tell you why we stopped you. Basically, we've had a problem. Someone's called us. Yeah.
Having found the suspect, they quickly establish he's not armed.
Excellent, man. I'm trying to. Right. We just got a call here that possibly you may have caused a bit of a disturbance in there earlier. No? None at all. Nothing to do with that.
He said, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna bring my gun and kill you.
And then, you know the one about you.
He was pushing the buzzer.
That's not fun.
We've had this information, so if we leave you here, that this is going to continue.
I'm going about my business.
Okay, so I'm now arresting you to prevent further breach of the peace. Okay, you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court.
I'm going to court.
Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Am I going to court?
You're going down the police station.
No, let me finish speak. And then the one about the geezer. The one about the geezer that wasn't that strong enough, didn't have his lunch. Listen, don't think so, you talk to me any blood clot, stuff.
We had information that he had a gun on him at one point, which was quite scary. But I seemed to walk faster to the venue rather than step back because I was worried about members of the public being hurt, more so than my own safety, which is something I need to step back on. So I definitely need to do that. Just got a death wish, I think, sometimes.
No, I mean that.
You'll be taken to a cell and searched there because I don't have to put up with your behaviour in custody. Do you understand?
I mean that.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I mean that.
After further investigation, no charges were brought and the man was released later the same day.
Even after the violent arrest, it still feels good to come here every day and to go out. It doesn't matter what arrest you do, every single crime has got a victim. So you're always helping people, doesn't matter what you do.
Mike is still looking for his first arrest.
Saturday night.
This is taking the piss.
Don't worry, Mike, we'll get something. I've got a feeling in my water.
He spotted a boy drawing on a street sign.
Show me your hands. Show me what you wrote.
I wrote that. No. Criminal damage.
We're asking you for criminal damage. You don't have to say anything to me, harm your defence if you don't mention when questioned something which you later on in court. You do say no and give them evidence.
Go away.
Go away. I know he's your friend, but go away. Have you got anything in your pockets? Hey, can you get out of the way? Get out of the way. No, it's all right. I'll take it out.
Some of the police are bad.
You got my money as well.
Yeah, I've got your money, yeah.
That's all bad. It's all bad. That's police people in this podcast.
At last, Mike has got his first arrest.
Yet received, show us a sign.
South East London. The police have been called to deal with a shoplifter who's become violent.
Bastards!
I know.
They're all going.
I know, this looks comical, doesn't it?
25-year-old Claire Keating has just finished an 18-week course at the Metropolitan Police Training School in Hendon.
Yeah, we're the only ones with a van.
As a new probationer, Claire's still learning the ropes.
Sorry, am I getting excited? Someone already nicked them then, they just need a van.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right.
Oh. Yeah, unit requiring the van for Hayes Galleria. We're parked up in Battlebridge Lane.
Claire's been beaten to the call by Mike Walsh, another new probationer.
He's got a big, faster car. We did ask to go first, and they just happened to be round the corner.
It was just there,
Yeah.
practically outside.
Yeah.
We come away from Rotherhithe, didn't we?
Yeah, so unfortunately we're a bit late, but I'll have words later.
Yeah, all signing there.
Mike is making the second arrest of his new police career under the watchful eye of a police instructor.
I've got the statements of, well, I've got details of the other two actually detained. Right.
For the first 10 weeks after leaving Hendon, new probationers are supervised. Claire and Mike's supervising instructor is Sergeant John Darcy.
Just a notes of scene. That's all right. Glad you can read it. The security guards had detained him, and there were razors all over the floor that they said that he'd stolen. Got the evidence, so I arrested him there and then, and did a search and found some drugs on him. So further arrested him for possession of drugs. So that's quite a nice one, really. And apparently, when the guy who stopped him took him back in, and he started doing all that putting on before, he's going, "Oh, where have all those come from?" Like they just magically appeared up his top. So, gonna go back now and do the biz.
Back at the station, there's a problem. An empty medicine bottle is found on the floor of the van.
Was a load of stuff in there.
Yeah, you swallowed it then.
To be,
you swallowed whatever was in there, sir.
What was it?
What was it? It was yours, because that van was empty. What was it?
Now, I have been informed by these officers that you've swallowed something. Can you tell me what you swallowed? Was it controlled drugs? I've got to be concerned about your health.
I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is. Why did you swallow it then?
It's one to kill myself.
Sorry?
I want to kill myself.
Right. Take him into the surgeon's room and let the ambulance crew deal with him. And get the rest of his details to me, please.
Stephen, well, you need to put our minds at rest and let us know what's in this bottle. You're going to have to come down the hospital. Police are obviously going to hospital. Well, I don't think you're going to have any choice. I don't think you're going to have any choice. But if you don't...
As he refused to say what he'd swallowed, he had to be taken to hospital.
The bottom line is we can't take the chance. I'm afraid the police will make you go.
It's all got a bit pear-shaped, really. It went from what was an okay arrest, quite simple, to something quite serious, really, all in the matter of a couple of minutes. This is my first serious thing, so I suppose all your first, my first RTA is going to be hard, my first sudden death is going to be hard. Each first, whatever you do is going to be difficult.
Mike found the medicine bottle in the suspect's belongings, and he obviously gave it back. I mean, it is a mistake. It's a mistake on Michael's behalf, and it's most certainly a mistake on my behalf. As Michael knows now, he's thought about it, and he accepts that yes, he should have kept it, but and that's in hindsight. So, and we're all better people in hindsight.
It turned out the man had taken an overdose of methadone. After recovering in hospital, he was brought back to the station a few hours later and then released on bail.
It's very sad with somebody saying that they want to die and they want to kill themselves, and it's yeah, it's upsetting. It's not nice, but it's all part of the job, isn't it? I suppose.
For 10 weeks, the probationers have been trailing a police instructor. Now that has come to an end. From tomorrow, for the first time, they'll be working on their own as part of a real team of officers.
We've got to hold our own basically now, and it's quite frightening I'm sure that I can do it, I'm sure that I'm capable of doing it, and I'm not frightened to ask people for help. But this is going to be the real test. I think the next 18 months is going to be a real test of character.
In Stratford, East London, Craig Jones is going to meet his new team. He left Hendon at the same time as Claire.
It's a new station, new faces, new sergeant. I'm a proper PC now, even though there's 2 years probation left. And you're still learning, you're still the new boy. Putting the uniform on for that first time in a new station, it's time to show what I can do.
The first thing Craig has to do is to meet his new sergeant.
Maybe I'm going to have a chat about your future, if you have one.
Cheers.
Well, the hair will have to go for a start.
I'm going to have
keep your hat on full time, one of the two.
Right, just two crimes I'll bring to your attention. Both happened round about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Whilst Craig sits in on his first team briefing to find out his duties for the day, over in Southwark, Claire is already out on her first patrol with her new partner.
Kids from this state, and they called him racial names over.
Do you know where that is?
It's a 10-year-old being assaulted by friends with racial comments. Because it's a racial incident, well, we have to throw off the Met's resources at it. Get the duty officer down.
102.
Do any of you lot live here? No?
No.
Oh yeah, can you call us?
Since the death of Stephen Lawrence and the McPherson report, an inspector has to be notified about every racial incident.
I think what we'll do is we'll obviously take as many details as we can. I think we're going to be able to resolve this here and now, aren't we?
Possibly not. Mum, I think, will tend If we go and have a chat with these people, I think she'll be happy with that. Hiya, this is Inspector Tate. Hello.
It's been kicked twice in the back.
You've been kicked twice in the back, have you?
What she's worried about is that they're going to retaliate.
Right, now I can understand that's fair enough.
Dealing with racial crimes is very important to me personally. I really felt for the little boy that had stones thrown at him, a pole thrown at him because he's black. He's 9 years old. He's been a whole gang of white kids surrounded him, calling him black bastard, and I don't know. I just really felt for the boy and his mum as well, because she's frightened to let her boy out.
Claire went with the inspector to talk to the young boys involved in the incident.
When we went to see the suspects that were involved, I had to stay calm, I had to try and control what I was actually thinking. I felt like going up to the lads and saying, you know, like, how dare you, blah, blah, you know, and just give them a clip round the ear roll, but obviously we're not allowed to.
Meanwhile, in the East End, Craig is getting his first experience of dealing with youngsters.
Basically, we found these in their bags.
Right.
You know, because they left the hangers behind.
Yeah. I mean, if you want them prosecuted, then they can be arrested and taken Forest Gate Police Station.
I think it's pointless.
You've been in trouble with any sort. Why are you doing it now?
I'm just going to go back. I'm not having enough money for it.
So why didn't you leave it?
Come on, please. Don't let our parents know.
Have you got any ID on you girls, just so I can check what you've told me? You got a bus pass or anything?
Please.
Well, we're going to tell
We have to tell you. This gentleman is being very, very kind. You knew what you were doing, and we have to tell your parents. This is my first dealing with, you could say, children, 13 and 14. It's sad to see. I have a younger sister of that age, and it'd upset me if she was doing that. And I mean, for what they're stealing, it's not worth it, especially getting that criminal record. And I don't think they understand at that age.
Today it's Mike's first time on duty without a police instructor. His team are working nights.
Is it like a homicide and not homicide? No, there's a side for probationers, and that's by itself.
The other side of the window. Out of the yard.
I hate that feeling of being a fish out of water, where you don't know what you're doing, when you don't feel confident dealing with something.
I should have a perfect pocketbook from now on.
Because there's so many things that you have to think about and take on board, and it's not just like a snap decision. Well, if I get it wrong, it doesn't matter. You know, 9 times out of 10, you've got to get it right. So it's quite a responsibility. It's John, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. Got a lot of names to learn now, haven't I?
John, we've found the vehicle.
One of Mike's first calls is to look for a suspect who's been seen breaking into a car.
Male IC1 wearing a black or dark green jacket. Oh, I think she said shaved head as well.
Yeah, shaved head.
The suspect has been described as a young white male.
No, it's not him.
What is it? No, There's a black lad, isn't it?
All right, mate. Whereabouts have you come from?
Sorry?
Whereabouts have you come from?
London Bridge, right. So I'll tell you the reason why we're stopping, mate. It's basically the car being broken into run back by a fire station. The description given was actually a white bloke with a green jacket on. And we thought you were white because you're quite pale-skinned. You know, for a black lad, you're quite pale-skinned. We thought it was white in this light. It's an easy mistake to make. Okay. So, I mean, you haven't got anything on it you shouldn't have you? No, not at all. But you would you mind if I just have a quick look in your pockets to make sure you're not... Do you want me to take it out or...?
You got cuts?
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you get the cuts?
Pint glass.
Pint glass? How did you manage to cut yourself on a pint glass?
It exploded in my hand.
Well, you just told me that you did that in the pub.
I never said that I did it. Yeah, you did. I never said I did it in the pub.
You said that a glass exploded in your hand.
A pint glass.
A pint glass? Where else do you get a pint glass from then?
The pub.
Right.
I never got that pint glass from my pub. Right. Have you been involved in that vehicle? With that vehicle at all? Not at all. You're absolutely sure of that?
Possibly could recognise him. He said he was about sort of mid-20s, possibly a white shirt as well.
Can you open your jacket?
Yeah, if I told her I don't want him getting wet. Do you want me to?
No, that's all right.
No. What we're going to try and find out if they'll be able to identify the person who'd done this again. I mean, we don't want to end up arresting somebody on suspicion or something if there's someone who can identify them and say that is or isn't them.
To try and identify the suspect, the witness is driven past in a police car.
You want to come here, mate? Yeah, thank you. It's not you.
All right.
I thought it wouldn't be. Thanks for your accommodation.
That's all right.
Sorry
about that. Cheers.
You've got to be careful when you're searching people that you've got the right grounds to do it. Then you have to explain it to them. The fact that he's sort of a very light-skinned black lad, it put a little bit of doubt in my mind as to whether it would be him. But when he had the cut hand...
But at the end of the day, if the witness doesn't ID him, then there's nothing you can do. If there hadn't been a witness, he'd have been arrested on suspicion, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
The recruits have settled into their new roles. After 3 months, Craig is used to dealing with fights.
Just received a call off officers to a Balen Street, large public order fighting basically.
Craig and his partner, Noel Deedy, are just a few minutes away.
I don't know what it is. It's Whitwell Road.
It turns out that the fight is at a wedding reception.
Don't know what it's about yet, but at the end of the day, 2 people have been seriously assaulted, if not more.
You're scaring the hell out of me. Seriously? Sorry?
Outside, the fighting continues.
Handcuffs! No way!
Fuck you, wankers! You fucking wankers! Fuck you! Fuck you! Oh, but...
Move your arm round!
Spin it
round, spin it round.
I'll give you my arm.
Right, spin your arm round. Spin your arm round. Spin your arm round.
I'll give you my arm.
Right, calm down.
Oh, you're not pulling me and I'll give you my arm.
Calm down then.
Fuck you.
A lot of people think, oh, police, they're here to cause trouble.
Fuck you. Relax your arm then.
We're there because trouble's already started. A lot of people at this incident, there must have been a good 20 people actually hands-on, grabbing, fighting, punching, and they ended up being 20, 30 police officers there. Now, as it cools down, people start blaming the police. I don't understand why.
You're going to get necked, darling.
No, I want to ask.
Because you're drunk. Yeah, you're going to get necked.
No, I'm sober. Why did it take 5 of them to hold him down?
My wrists are killing me.
Excuse me?
I know you are, mate. Leave yourself forward.
Look, can I say something?
Quality night in Canning Town.
Craig's partner, Noel, is well aware of the impression they're creating.
5 PCs to restrain one bloke. It looks excessive, but if somebody wants to struggle with us, we can't fight them, as in, like the proper term, fight. We can't kick and punch and, you know, anything we need to do. We're trying to restrain them without them getting hurt and us getting hurt. So if it takes 5 for nobody to get hurt, then obviously it might not look the best in the world, but it's the safest way of doing it, and people don't understand that.
Lean forward. My right one is really
going in the van?
It's hurting. You're alright. It's them other 2 have roughed me up as far as I'm concerned. And I will take their numbers and I don't give a fuck.
You'll get the numbers once we
Look,
book you in.
if you take me station, I will take your numbers because I've done nothing. I ain't got a criminal
I've told
record.
you, you've been arrested on
I'm an
suspicion of
actor and a
GBH.
singer.
Take her away. Where's Craig? Paul? Paul, you seen Craig?
They've started a big old fight over my stereo system. This is God's own truth. I lost my temper. Yeah, because they were saying, lock me out, and they said I couldn't have my stereo. It was lost my temper. A geezer's belted her with a chair. She split her eye open all over the fucking top. And he's walking around in there. This is what's making me... I'm sorry to lose my temper, but it's upsetting. He's walking around in there and he split her fucking eye open.
Keep walking. Keep walking.
My sister. What about my wrist?
After further investigations, no charges were brought against any of the wedding guests.
Fucking salad.
For myself, the aggressive and abusiveness, it just comes with a job.
Well, free play.
It's a shame this has to happen. It's someone's wedding day.
The Met deals with nearly 7,000 incidents of domestic violence every month. In Southwark, Mike Walsh is answering a call from a woman whose boyfriend has been causing a disturbance.
There are no numbers here, Bob.
Should be my doctor.
You live here?
My woman is there. Alright, I'll see you later, yeah? You phone her, yeah? Alright, bye, man.
What's happened to the window?
No, it's
Hello?
light, man.
You call
It's
police?
like the wind.
Yeah.
Can I come in?
Can I have my phone, please?
Yeah, I'll just speak to mum, yeah?
Yeah.
What happened to your arm?
Do you want to tell me what's
Did
happened?
it fall out onto your arm?
Yeah, it was like the
Take
wind.
you locked him out, have you?
Yeah.
You've got blood all over your arm.
Well, he's caused a lot of damage here.
Yeah.
Now, we can't arrest him. He's caused criminal damage. We can arrest him.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I'm
I'm concerned if we
They're
go,
arresting me now.
so therefore I'm going to arrest you on suspicion of causing criminal damage and to prevent a breach of the peace.
I'm not
Right,
going
and
to
you do say maybe give him evidence.
But they're going to keep me in. You know what? You know what? At the end of the day, this is my daughter you got to talk to.
All right. Let's walk down the stairs. Yeah, okay, mate.
You just let down a little
You can do it on the hurry up, please.
I'm going to walk downstairs
Right,
because
you
you
walk
know you're
downstairs.
hurting me, yeah?
Walk
You're
downstairs.
hurting me, do you understand? I know I'm black and you're white, yeah? But can you let that... these are hurting me, yeah?
Well,
That's
if
why
you
I'm
took
making
his hand off,
fucking
yeah?
noise. Because they're fucking hurting me.
He's going to put you in the back of the van, alright?
Yeah, I know. Don't hold me. I know you're going to beat me.
We're not going to beat you up. Just sit down there and calm down. Alright, mate?
I'm calm. I don't give a fuck, do you? Get another black person, yeah? Another fucking nigger, yeah? On your fucking another piece you fucking battered, yeah? Another fucking nigger.
He's automatically saying that I've arrested him because he's black. He's saying you've arrested me because I'm a fucking nigger. If I wasn't black, you wouldn't have arrested me. And that is sometimes what we're up against. When I went to the call, I had no idea what colour he was. Didn't know if he was black, white, green or blue. He's arrested because of what he'd done. But he is saying that he's been arrested because he is black. No more, no less. It doesn't make me do my job any differently, but it's very worrying because if he now makes an allegation, for example, that I've been racist, that I've used unnecessary unnecessary force against him, as in I put the handcuffs on, I put them on too tight. If all that is linked into him saying that you've done that because I'm a black man, then I will get a racially aggravated complaint against me, which will be investigated by CIB3. From a personal, perhaps selfish point of view, it's very, very frustrating and it's very upsetting. However, if you look at the big picture and you look at the professional side of it, then it has to be done because of the criticism that the Met and the police service as a whole has had post-McPherson, etc. We have to seem to be accountable beyond any limit.
Come on. All right, in a minute we'll get them off, okay? Just I want a fag. Okay.
No charges were brought and the man was released later the same day. The one thing most probationers dread is having to deal with their first death. Claire has just received a call about a woman found dead in a flat.
I am quite nervous about it until I get there. If the body, sounds gross, but if the body's quite fresh, then it's not so bad. But if the body is an old body, it's like going into the unknown, and I feel really nervous about it. Oh, is that them? Oh no, it's not smelly.
The body was discovered by the council.
Is it? The smell is really bad. It's hard to describe. Like you've got hundreds of bags of rubbish gone off.
Yeah, come in here, Claire.
Okay. Look. Is it really bad?
I'm Sierra 207. Oh, we're just leaving my Sierra now, being that 5 on the front desk.
It's an old one, isn't it?
Thanks very much.
No, it's just a couple of days, it's just the heating's been on.
Okay. I could cope with it if it wasn't for the smell. The smell was hideous. There's flies in the window. It's grim. She's obviously a very proud lady. Her flat's very sort of clean and tidy. Just glad that she seems to have died. It appears she's died naturally in her sleep, which makes me feel a hell of a lot better.
Claire's job is to collect as much information as she can about the dead woman for the coroner's court.
This blanket's been put on top by LAS. I surprised myself when I went into that sudden death. I wanted to turn back. I didn't want to go ahead, and I had to talk myself. I'm saying, no, don't be such a wimp, don't be such a wimp. You've got to go in there. And sort of 20 minutes later, I'm lifting the body up and searching it and leaning over it to get medication. And I was surprised how you just get on with it, really. You've got a job to do, and I don't know, you don't think about it too much. I think you go mad if you thought about it too much.
Yeah, we've had a further call on the Albion Street call. We've now got a male being glassed. Or you can come in via Neptune Street from the Lower Road. The first turning on the left-hand side.
It's nearly a year since the probationers decided to join the Metropolitan Police. All of them are aware of how much they've changed.
Would I recognise myself 10 months ago as I do now? Definitely not. I mean, the job's brought a lot of qualities out in me. Hopefully nothing negative. I don't think it's brought anything negative out. Obviously it will have, but I mean, 10 months ago I wouldn't have envisaged or thought that I could do half the things that I'm doing at the moment.
I'll get a print of this car. Is this his car?
This is his car, he's been it. It's made me realise that there's people out there who do suffer.
It's alright, the car's a bit of a...
Yeah, I think I've got a lot more time for people.
No, he was parked there at a red light, he's been it and he's come straight across.
And as you go from job to job, incident to incident, it's amazing what you've learned and what you know.
I am on the steepest learning curve I've ever been in my life, more so than at university. Nobody can really prepare you for that.
No, this is what he done last week. He was in court for this today.
Right.
He's meant to give me my money today. He left me with no money, no food, no gas, no nothing, all over the weekend.
Shall we go and sit inside, Claire? I joined the job as a civilian. I'd never seen some of the things that I see every day in my job before, and the first time you see some of these things, it's tough.
I don't know what to do, do you know what I mean?
Has he hurt you anywhere else at all?
He tried to throw me under a bus.
Right.
He's a psycho, he's off his head, he needs to get mental hospital help.
But, for want of sounding callous, you do become hardened to certain things.
I had to bother this snappy off Kay this morning.
Right, Claire, you've got to listen to me, right? As I say, with regards to the money, I can't help you there. There's nothing we can do. That's something that you're either going to have to go to the CSA. The only thing that I can actually do to help you this afternoon is with regards to the assault that he's committed on you. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you get emotionally involved in the things that you deal with, as I have done, undoubtedly in some of the cases I've dealt with, then I don't believe you can function as effectively as if you are, more dispassionate and probably more professional. And that's probably happened to me without me realising it.
In a fight, the Old Kent Road's about 5 males and females fighting. I've had a few people pull me aside and say, don't be too nice to that person because they've got previous for this, previous for that, they've done this, done that, blah, blah, blah. Don't be nice to them. But I'm not there to sort of judge them, really. I'm there to just do my job. My dad's too on the scene at Tesco's. People might think I'm soft, but at the end of the day, I don't think, as yet, anyone's taken advantage of me. Shit, they're fighting. Oi!
Get away! Get away! Get out! Get out! Get down! Get now!
When
four men try and jump in, I'm trying
to... Right, wait a minute, we need to speak to you.
Get your hands out!
We need to speak to you. Where are the people that hit you?
Stand still.
Alright. Go on. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back. You get back. You get back. Get back.
Get on, you damn police is pushing.
Get back. You stay there. You stay there.
He's getting stuck. Fucking stand there and talk to me, you fucking stupid. Calm down.
Yeah, I know, yeah, sorry.
So who stabbed you?
Thanks, mate.
This job has changed my confidence a lot. I'm not scared of situations anymore, and I don't really trust people now, which was one of my biggest fears when I was at Hendon.